So your call would be mission 901. Scramble, scramble, scramble. You also need to know that under the seat there are 16 rockets which fire and give you a force of 16 times the force of gravity. Normally, what is the maximum that a human being can sustain? About 9 to 9.5. Now, if you get 16 G, you black out. You become unconscious. Now you're heading out into the unknown. And then you hope like hell that the sequence works, the seat releases, the drogue parachute opens, the main parachute opens, and you come down safe. I was still on medicines, and 2 days prior to leaving for Dehradun, I was on injections. My parents didn't expect with this kind of weakness. And I landed up there and I said, this 5 days. At the end of the 5th day, I will live. I may have to be carried off a stretcher, but I will live and get selected. If he's flying high, you may want to intercept him from bottom. If he's near a very critical area, right, you may want him to intercept outside that area, because even if you shoot him down over your defense area or your critical area and the debris falls, he has achieved his aim. He may die, but that area is gone. On that frequency, then you will give him instructions, tell him what has taken place. If he can't understand, you give hand signals. If he's not responding, then you just put on your bag, show him the weapons. Tell him, then, bhai sahab, if you don't do it, I'm going to use this. In most cases, the moment he sees you there, he panics. And like I said, respect the aircraft will respect you. The day you think you know the aircraft will show you that it knows more.
So how was the flight to Bangalore?
Oh, it was nice, and luckily I could coordinate our flights. And I'm a pilot. You know how to identify a pilot in a gathering, no?
Correct. Yeah.
He'll come and tell you that I'm a pilot. So I have to highlight that.
Yeah.
So luckily I could track your flight and we.
How different it was कि आप पैसेंजर बन के बैठे हो और कोई आपको उड़ा रहा है, तो आपका दिमाग चलता रहता होगा ना, ये कैसे उड़ा रहा है, क्या उड़ा रहा है, hard landing, soft landing and things like that.
On the contrary, I'll tell you something. No, every time I booked a flight or I've traveled as a passenger, I've always traveled in the aisle seat. Okay, because firstly, it is a pleasure to fly as a passenger and not sit in the cockpit and see what all is going wrong. To be honest, none of the passengers know कि अंदर cockpit में क्या chaos चल रहा है. If you see the chaos taking place in the cockpit, you will think twice before flying. And like one of my teachers told me in school, I was looking out of the window. She says, "Young man, if you keep looking out of the window, you will achieve nothing in life." Now I need to tell her, I get paid to look out of a window.
Guys, so
slightly behind? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you.
Roger that with NKC. Just the way I say it. Officer like qualities की कहानी ex GTO की जुबानी. This is a show by veterans for the armed forces aspirants of today, for the Indian Armed Forces of tomorrow. And today I have with me Wing Commander Abhijit Gokhale.
Thank you.
In the recent past, there has been a trend that the number of movies made on the Indian Air Force by Bollywood has been increasing. So like the first dedicated movie that was made on the Indian Air Force was, I think, Vijayta in 1977.
Yeah, correct.
After that, we witnessed in the recent past, I think, Tejas,
correct.
In which Kangana Ranaut was featured.
Yeah.
And then now, I think,
Fighter is released.
Fighter by in which Deepika Padukone and Anil Kapoor and
Hrithik
Roshan is featured. And going forward, I think we're expecting a movie, Skyforce, in which Akshay Kumar is also featured.
Correct.
So, fighter pilot, right? Guys, we have a fighter pilot on the set. We have a fighter pilot. And we will tell you exactly what does it take to become fighter pilot. Okay? And the kahani again starts at, this time it is Air Force Selection Board. So, let's take you through the journey of what does it take to become fighter pilot. Okay? So, but before I go ahead, let me tell you, the gentleman who is sitting on the set today, my guest, Wing Commander Abhijit Gokhale, has been a consultant to make not only the movie Tejas with Kangana Ranaut, but also he's consulting now to make the movie Skyforce with Akshay Kumar.
That's great.
Yeah. So, for the sake of audience, sir, thoda chota mota, why don't you please grace us with the introduction? Pehle introduction, who are you?
Okay, so my name is Wing Commander Abhijit Gokhale, nicknamed as ABBEE the Rebel. How it came about is, my name is Abhijit, so normally all Abhijits are, sort of short form is ABBEE. And over a period of time, what happened is, I got a reputation in the Air Force of doing what people said is not possible to be done. So I have always believed that, it's simple. If something exists, somebody has to attempt it. Otherwise, it wouldn't have existed. And I had read it some time ago that everything in life you should attempt once. If you succeed, it's an example for others to follow. If you fail, you can tell somebody where you failed. Maybe he succeeds. Either way, you will teach somebody, and the world will grow.
Yeah.
So that's why ABBEE the Rebel. After my schooling, I joined the National Defence Academy, and after Academy, the Basic Flying Training School, Advanced, and got commissioned as a fighter pilot, which was my dreams, incidentally, since childhood.
So you're which squad in India?
I am Hunter's Con, 80th course.
Hunter.
And it's supposed to be the toughest con in the National Defence Academy.
Yeah.
And believe you me, when I was joining the NDA, secretly I was hoping to join the Hunter's Con because I said it will put me through the steps which no other con may put through. And since I was a pure civilian, I said the easiest way to learn the best things is to tough it out.
Yeah.
And luckily, as they say, sometimes the easiest way to, as they say, how to chase your dreams is to get up and run after them. And
Yeah, simple way of saying that, no sir, अगर सूरज के साथ चमकना है तो पहले उसके साथ जलना पड़ेगा.
exactly.
Yeah. So before we get into the journey and things like that, can you please tell us what is a fighter pilot? क्या होता है fighter pilot?
Okay, so it is, to be honest, in this entire world, among whatever the crores, hundreds of crores of peoples, you may have just about 0.1% of the people who are human beings who fly fighters, right? Being a fighter pilot is slightly different than any other industry, any other vocation, any other profession, any other work that you do, even within the armed forces, right? Firstly, pilots themselves. There's an old quote which says, if God had wanted man to fly, he would have given you wings. The fact you do not have wings means you're doing something which nature has not destined you to do. So inherently, you're doing something which is against Mother Nature, right? That is the challenge. That's the first challenge, just to fly, okay? And then when you get into fighter flying, all civil aircraft or transports are made for stability, right? They are stable platforms. You want to achieve as much stability and safety as possible. Fighters, on the other hand, are made for maneuverability. And stability and maneuverability are inversely proportional. That means it is not a stable platform. Not only are you flying, which nature has not designed you to, you're fighting against gravity. Gravity pushes you down, fighter does maneuvers all against gravity. So you're taking the aircraft to the extremes. Now that is the machine part. Imagine the human being, what he needs to do. So it is not only your ability, your capability, what you have learned, it is your perseverance, your motivation, your inspiration, and the ability not to give up at all costs. Because when you fly a fighter aircraft, especially a single seat fighter, you're all alone there. Nobody can help you. If something goes wrong, you have to get the sum of everything in your life, right? From childhood till you're trained, till the last time you landed to get the aircraft back. The aircraft is a multi-million-dollar machine, a taxpayer's money. So not only you owe it to the taxpayer, but also to the nation. And you may be carrying so much of weaponry that should the aircraft get damaged or you have to eject, it may cause an explosion and may kill people.
Yeah.
So the need to persevere, to work hard, not to give up, and an attitude of there is nothing that can beat me. That is absolutely essential. Yeah, there are a huge number of qualities which can come about, but for me, this is what helped me, not only to fight fighters, but to survive.
Okay, like you rightly said, sir, that the threat to life is very high in fighter cockpit. In general, वैसे aviation में threat to life is very high.
Correct.
But let's say fighter cockpit में it will be further 10x, 20x, 30x or something like that. So if I were to plot all the arms and services or branches of the armed forces, Indian Armed Forces, all three services.
Yeah.
So एक extreme पे you have special forces.
Correct.
Very, very, extreme ownership and very, very high threat to life, and all doors are actually one-way doors.
Yeah.
And उसके इसी continuum पे एक other end पे you have fighter pilots.
Yeah, you can say that. You can say that because the most important thing in a fighter aircraft, especially the ones which I flew, are all single seat. So you are the only guy doing everything. Not only flying, the communication, looking at targets, operating the systems, and they were all manual. Today, so many aircraft have a lot of automatic systems. So a lot of the workload of the pilot is reduced.
Yeah.
And if you see the trend, only because of that, now you have most of the fighters which are twin engine and twin cockpit. Whereas erstwhile there was a single engine. Now imagine if the engine fails in a fighter aircraft, there is no forced landing, right? Unlike in a transport, you can still force land. A helicopter can be forced landed. That's why only fighters have an ejection seat. when there is no option, if the engine fails and the engine doesn't relight, you have to leave the aircraft.
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
And since you're alone, you're the only guy taking a decision. There is nobody, there is no challenge and response, or you cannot coordinate with somebody. If there is a doubt, you cannot clarify. Whereas I fly an Airbus 320. It's all challenge and response. Anything I do, that guy checks. So even if I forget something, I can look at him and he says, do this. There is time, there is space. You can take out a checklist, read it. In the fighter cockpit, there is nothing. That's me, my G suit, my helmet, my communication suit, and my stick and throttle.
Speed of decision is extremely high.
Okay, so I'll explain it in a manner. Normal tactical speeds of a fighter aircraft in kilometers per hour is about 900 kilometers per hour. Converted into meters per second is 250 meters per second, which is 1 kilometer every 4 seconds. Right? If you're, and you're flying at about 100 meters above ground. 1 second. 1 second, if you don't pay attention and you go towards the ground, in 1 second you'll be 250 meters underground. It's 250 meters per second.
Yeah.
That's the speed.
Yeah.
And you're flying at extremely low heights. When you cross the border in uncharted terrain, you have maps across, you have maps from that side. You can't update them on a regular basis. You could have a new high tension cable. You could have a mobile tower, which has just come up. And now you navigate a certain valley, come up, and you'll find a high tension cable across you. Right? So that is the challenge. The speeds are so high. So like for example, if you have to eject, they say the ejection time required is 6 times the rate of descent. Why? Firstly, you see a situation, you need time to appreciate. Your mind needs to sense that I need to leave the aircraft. Firstly, when you want to eject, you're also going into an alien atmosphere. You also need to know that under the seat there are 16 rockets which fire and give you a force of 16 times the force of gravity. Normally, what is the maximum that a human being can sustain? About 9 to 9.5. Now, if you get 16 G, you black out, you become unconscious. Now you're heading out into the unknown. And then you hope like hell that the sequence works, the seat releases, the drogue parachute opens, the main parachute opens, and you come down safely. So there is, everything has to work like clockwork. One thing out, and you may not come back alive.
So that's again one-way door.
Yeah, it's
just
like
a
that.
one-way
Yes,
door.
yes.
So, sir, let's come to the second question now. I would like to you to answer this question through your journey before you became a pilot officer.
Okay.
So from your schooling time,
Yeah.
what does it take to become a fighter pilot? So you start from the, I think AFSB Dehradun, right?
Yeah, that is, yeah. So if you want me to refer to the school a bit, okay. So sometimes, no, a lot of my school teachers and relatives said maybe it was designed. My initial birthday cakes were a fighter aircraft, a tank, and a soldier. And then for the first time, yes, and then obviously I saw Vijeta, and I was in Baroda, and there was a military cantonment at EME and an Air Force station, and I used to see people, and it kind of impressed me. Both my grandparents had a huge influence because my grandfather was in the police. He was Director General, and then he was Director CBI. My other grandfather was a Supreme Court judge. So the ethics built up there, morals of serving the nation, about talking about the nation, all built up there. And in class 7th, I did parasailing, which is the parachute pulled by the jeep, you go into the air. That's the first time I got that feeling of aviation, looking down at the world. And that clicked. Then I said, yes, I want to be a soldier, but I want to fly. And then I wanted to become a fighter pilot. And yes, I had to work very, very hard for it. So even today, all my teachers, I just went for a reunion to my school, and my teachers told me the same thing. He says, even in school in class 7th and 8th, we knew you wanted to become what you wanted to become, and we knew you were working towards it. So that is the first thing. You have a dream, right? You need to get up and chase that dream. It has to be single-minded devotion. There is no second way. You can't, it's like, जैसे कहते हैं बग्गी के घोड़े को ऐसे blinkers पे
Fixedness of purpose चाहिए.
It has to be, right? Secondly, you need to understand, which I hope people who are watching this understand. Being a soldier is not a job, it's not a career, it's not a profession. It's a commitment of a lifetime.
Correct.
I retired in 2015. Even if today, if you see, I live, breathe, work, do everything like a soldier. Because I'm still committed the way I was trained. If that commitment is there, nothing can stop you from getting selected.
Spiritual inclination है ये.
It has to be. It has to come from within.
So that means
it has to come from within. Nobody can motivate you to do it.
So that's what. So there's something that we check in something called as social adaptability.
Yes.
We say adaptability coefficient में there is something called as keenness and interest in service life.
Correct.
तो वो keenness and interest वो inherent है. And when we award trainability के factors के numbers today आज अभी बच्चे तो trainability factors में एक insight और motivation है. All these things are hinting at spiritual level. कितना inclination है अपने आप को adapt करने का.
Correct.
Because you are asking for a way of life.
Absolutely.
Why should I train you for this? What are you bringing to the table? Oh, like Sam said, no sir, Field Marshal Sam Manekshaw used to say that give me a man with reasonable common sense and decency.
Perfect.
And
I think those are the perfect words. No?
Yeah.
There's a lovely quote which exactly sums up what you need to join to wear the uniform. I wouldn't say join the forge, to wear the uniform.
Yeah.
Okay. It says, if you want to learn, nobody can stop you.
Yeah.
But if you don't want to learn, nobody can help you. And that is what sums up to be a soldier.
Yeah.
You should be willing to learn, imbibe, take in whatever comes your way, irrespective of what it is. No, I was a pure civilian, and there were times I questioned myself, why am I doing this in the National Defence Academy? But all I told myself is, what was my purpose?
So sir, which school? What?
Yeah, so I studied in a school called Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan, and this was school in Baroda.
Baroda.
It was established by Kulupati K. M. Munshi, primarily because he wanted a foreign Western education to Indian students in the Indian culture. For example, we studied Sanskrit for 4 years. We used to have a school prayer. We used to sing a song of every state once every day. Over a period of 25-30 days. Those days there were 22 states and 9 union territories. Now, so we used to have 22 songs in 22 languages, which used to sing one day after other. So that is the kind of school I came from. So you understood about the country, and that in a way prepared me a huge deal, because then I did NCC in school, and then I went for a military camp.
Which was this Army Wing, Air Force Wing?
No, Army Wing.
Army Wing.
Right.
And
Then
C certificate.
No, it's a school. A school doesn't have C certificate.
A, okay.
Yeah. So I went to a military camp for a month. That was the first time I was convinced that I had it in me to become a soldier. Okay. And then I came back, and our school used to have a parade, annual day parade, and I commanded the school parade. So for 2 years, and then of course I appeared for NDA, and I had worked very, very hard. In those days, there was no Google, there was no online thing. So I used to ride my cycle to Senapati Bhavan, it used to be called. Meet people there, learn, and touch wood, I cleared SSB in my first attempt.
Which was AFSB?
Yeah, number 1 AFSB, Clement Town, Dehradun.
AFSB.
3rd to 9th May 1988.
Okay.
I still
I
remember the
wasn't
day.
even born there.
Yeah. I don't think so many people would be born. And incidentally, I had gone there just after I had a severe bout of food poisoning. I was still on medicines, and 2 days prior to leaving for Dehradun, I was on injections. And I had gone on medicines, and my parents didn't expect with this kind of weakness. And I landed up there, and I said, this 5 days. At the end of the 5th day, I will live. I may have to be carried off a stretcher, but I will live and get selected.
Sir,
that is the spirit.
बचपन से determination बहुत high है. Your determination is very high.
That is what you need. I keep saying this. The determination and motivation has to come from within, right? Once you are a soldier, once I can motivate you to a task, I can't motivate you for your aim and ambition in life.
Correct.
That can't be motivated.
Clarity of thought पहले से चाहिए.
Your motivation, your aim and ambition is constant. Maybe you require some inspiration, but I can't motivate you to achieve it.
So, now that we've touched that, I was born after you appeared for this. So let me touch upon something related to the SS.
Yeah.
This started in 1941.
Correct.
War Office Selection Board. आज 2024 है. Let's calculate the number of
77 years.
Whatever. So now, this 77 years, ये जो 5 दिन का system है और OLQs देखना है, judge करना है ना, ये system का theory change नहीं हुआ है. Outlook थोड़ा बहुत shift होता है.
You have to change.
What you're saying is absolutely correct, because military training academies, they have a set pattern of training.
Correct.
So I can imbibe certain kind of leadership traits and things, train you to never give up, because that's the way set pattern of training is. But you have to start thinking out of the box. Effective intelligence, that has to come from within you. And why I have to do that? The way you mentioned motivation.
Correct.
ये अंदर से ही चाहिए.
Absolutely.
So 3 years in NDA and then 1 year
Yes.
at
So
Airforce?
3 years in NDA, and then I did my first flying in NDA at the Air Force training team. I flew the glider, 65 launches and all. And luckily, I was among the 3 guys who got the glider, the wings, which you get if you go solo. So I was one of them. Then I went to basic flying training schools at Allahabad, which is at Bamroli. And I flew the HPT-32 about 200 hours. Then I came to Ishkras and flew the Ishkra in Hakimpet near Hyderabad, and then got commissioned as a fighter pilot. Incidentally, before getting commissioned at those days, you used to have a trifurcation board based on your performance. There's a big team of officers from the Air Force, Army, Navy.
So once again, sir, let's stop here. When you said board, again, for the sake of my viewers, SSB इंटरव्यू नहीं होता, SSB अपने आप में एक बोर्ड
होता है, perfect.
अपने आप अंदर जब आते हो फौज के अंदर, then you keep appearing for several
boards, correct.
Yeah. So board ये and OL की उसकी कहानी start SSB से होती है.
बिल्कुल, but it never ends.
It never ends.
It never ends. Till the last day of service. There also on the day, the way you leave the service station.
Yeah.
Whether you leave with respect, whether you sign the correct papers, whether you hand over your I-card, whether you get the collect documents, whether you wear the uniform on the last day, how you change it, how you leave the station. Officer-like qualities don't end even after retirement.
Yes.
You still have to display them.
Polishing चल रही है. The shades are becoming finer and finer.
They will change based on the requirement and the situation. Because if you require, say, abstract, 15 officer-like qualities, all 15 cannot go hand in hand at the same time. Some will peak, some will have depths. Others will, the ones which are depths will peak sometimes and vice versa. Because you need to display each quality in a different situation based on the challenge you face.
Correct.
And more importantly, the people around you.
Yeah.
Because you may be leading absolute troops, in which case the OLQ required is different. You may be leading peers when the OLQ is required are different. You may be required to hold your own among seniors. Then the officer-like quality is required.
So shades are changing. Shades are changing. Correct. Absolutely right, sir. Yeah. So that's exactly I keep telling my students also. It's a particular shade that we're looking at. Yeah.
And one more thing. And obviously, like you said, there are changes. Basic structure remains the same. But with the change in the social structure of this country, like I did my SSB in 1988. Today is 2024.
Correct.
So it is not one size fits all. So if you want to do exactly what I did, it may not work for you because human beings like fingerprints are not same.
Correct.
What works for you may not work for you. And change times.
Like
today, in 1988, I didn't know. I mean, the only thing I had was a newspaper.
Correct.
Today, I wonder how many of you read a newspaper.
Yeah.
So it's just an example.
Yeah.
Life changes, so obviously qualities will be modified.
So after commissioning and earning your fighter badge, sir, which was the first squadron that you got posted to?
Okay, so I was commissioned in the fighter squadron and then went to 101 Squadron Air Force, which is the most decorated squadron of the Indian Air Force. Flew a MiG-21. I mean, more than 75% of the squadrons were MiG-21s then.
And you were a pilot officer that time?
Yeah, the rank which no longer exists.
No rank.
So I was pilot officer. I went to 101. And then I went to 108 Squadron, which was a dedicated ground attack squadron. Spent 3 years. And then I went to a dedicated electronic warfare squadron. That was 35 Squadron. And post 35, then I did the instructor's course. I became an instructor. I was in a training center for about 3.5 years. Went back to a fighter squadron.
So before, when you get posted as a pilot officer,
Yeah.
let's say the first appointment.
Correct.
How much time does it take for a conversion to get into independent solo flying and solo cockpit?
So basically, every fighter's aircraft has got a standard procedure of training. So what happens is, firstly you do your ground training. It is called the MCF. Okay. MCF is the ground training to learn the technical aspects of the aircraft. Okay. For example, let us say you are learning a new vocation. Right? Let's say you are getting into IT. So when you get into IT, you first learn about what is the system, the computer, the screen and things like that. And then slowly you start working on the higher end. So similarly, you first do the ground training of the aircraft. What is the engine? What is the airframe? What are the instrumentation? How are they working? How are they made? Some are used on pressure, some come on electrics and things like that. Limitations, parameters, failures and all that. Once you do that for about 4 to 6 weeks, then you come back. This is done at centralized stations. Like I went to Calcutta, Barakpur. And then you come back to the squadron. Once you come back to the squadron, and then you spend about 2 weeks of pre-flying ground training, right? In which you're taught about the operational aspects of flying, right? That means what are the procedures to start the aircraft? What are the procedures to taxi the aircraft? What procedures to take off and then carry out various missions, come back and land, get the aircraft back safely, operation of various switches and all. So this works for 15 days. And then we have what is called as a blindfold test. When you sit in the cockpit, they put a blindfold around your eye and one of the instructors will stand there. He'll say, touch the AC generator switch, put it on. So with the blindfold, you put it on. Then he says, touch the inverter. Inverter on. Press the fire extinguisher button. Press the fire extinguisher. Because when you're in the cockpit, you may have a total electrical failure when there is dark. There are switches you need to operate.
What's the catch behind remembering all this?
Because there is nothing else with you. There is nobody to tell you.
So how would you remember?
Exactly. This is memory. You practice. That's why they do what is called as chair flying, which you do every time. So what is chair flying done? I sit in my room. There is a layout of the main instrument panel in front of me. I sit there and practice. Incidentally, this is what, if you see Tejas, Karna Ranath has also done in one of the scenes where she's sitting in a room and practicing the chair flying. So what do? I sit in the chair and imagine that I'm in the aircraft. And I move my hands, eyes and head to look, operate or touch things which I need to do at every stage. Because things happen so fast, like I explained the speeds, there is no time to think. Right? So if I am rolling for takeoff, I need to abandon takeoff for a certain reason. My hands need to move, HP clock off, stick forward, press brakes, put the inverters off or put the batteries off, operate the emergency brakes, use your main brakes. It has to come naturally. So this is what is checked out. Only when you are sure of that, then there's a written exam. Incidentally, we're passing in technical things. That means height of aircraft, speeds of aircraft, G loads, etc. is technical stuff. Passing is 80%. Then there are emergencies. What will you do if there's a fire? What will you do if there's a generator failure? What will you do if there's an oxygen failure? The passing is 95%. So you pass that, and that is the only time that you'll be allowed to step into the aircraft.
So this was from which aircraft to MiG-21?
That was from the Ishkra. Like I said, I went to BFTS where I flew the HPT.
So Ishkra, and then you went to MiG-21.
Those days there was no advanced jet trainer.
Correct.
So it was a fairly reasonable jump.
And that means that you have to, when you say fairly reasonable jump, that means the skill set needs to be pulled or elongated that long.
Yeah, so when I say fairly reasonable jump, I am being extremely limited with the use of words. It was a huge jump. Okay, so it was a huge jump. And that was the major challenge which the Indian Air Force faced for a long time. That the jump was so high that it took a lot of time for the young trainee to adapt. There were accidents and a lot of guys couldn't adapt at the rate that they wanted. Okay, I will explain. And therefore they got restreamed, they moved from fighters. What do I mean by rate of adaptation? Right? In civil flying, you pay fly. If you may take 25 hours to reach a standard, you may take 50 hours. You pay and fly. Air Force doesn't work like that. Okay. So if let's say there is an aircraft in which the Air Force has decided that the average pilot with average ability and average capability requires an average time to go solo. The average time is decided, say 8 sorties. We use the word sorties for flights. One takeoff and landing is 1 sortie. Every trainee who comes there must meet that average time. That means 8 sorties. So you'll fly in a duel with the instructor for 8 sorties. At the end of the 8, the instructor should be confident enough that I can clear this guy to take off, come back, land safely.
So many things match with what I've done in the Navy, but
Exactly. So that is what it is. It doesn't mean that the guy who doesn't do it is not good. It just means that he's not matching the time of the Air Force to adapt from one aircraft to the other. Yes, there is a leeway. You give him 2 extra sorties of a limited time and then ask him to appear for the test again. He doesn't. Maybe maximum, depending on how bad you are, maybe one more chance. And if you don't do it, then you get to transports of fighters.
Transports or choppers?
Choppers. Yeah. So again, I will say, it does not mean the guy doesn't know how to fly. Incidentally, there are guys I've seen, when I was a flight commander of a MiG-21 squadron, I had to ground them, remove them from fighters because the rate at which they were doing was not matching up. One of them went to helicopters, one of them went to transports. But the guy who went to helicopters, he's gone on to become a part of the Sarang aerobatic team of helicopters.
Oh my God.
So it is not as if he didn't have the ability. It's just that the speed of the fighter flying and the required time frame he could not match. The guy who was in transports, whom I grounded from fighters, is flying the Hercules aircraft.
Oh wow.
So it doesn't mean he was
coming back
not
to the
good.
questions here. So I asked this question to you, what does it take to become a fighter pilot? You started the journey from your school.
Yeah.
Now, sir, what is the attitude of a fighter pilot?
Yeah, so like I said, one is in this example which I just quoted, one is you should be willing to learn, willing to put in that hard yards because like I said, the chair flying, nobody is going to supervise and tell you how many hours of chair flying you do. I may need 1 hour, 1 session, you may need 2 hours, somebody may need 50 sessions, it's up to you. Nobody is going to tell you, ki, sit here, spend 10 hours on the chair, do it and come back. There is no syllabus defined, it's up to you. If you have to remember this entire checklist by rote, because there is nobody to open a checklist and read it out to you like in civil flying, in a fighter. There is no space also to take it out, right? There is no place to keep the checklist, it's all by memory. And it has to come instantly, right? So how much time do you need to spend to get it out? It's up to you. So like I said, the effort required, the perseverance, the attitude that I need to reach that standard. I don't care what the standard is. The standard has been set by the Air Force. I will ensure that I meet that standard.
So, sir, when you started flying independent solo,
Yeah.
what was the first emergency ever?
I think the first time it happened was the MiG-21 has a intake cone which moves to change the amount of air that goes in to give you the engine thrust. So it had happened, I don't remember exact how much time, but that was one of the issues when the cone failed and the thrust was a bit of a problem. But yes, thanks to what I have been taught by my instructors, I could manage to get the aircraft back safely.
Is it only the theory or something else other than the
No,
theory?
like I said, this chair flying and the simulations that they do. Everything comes in. So it is, see, it's very difficult in aviation to decide, yes, like for example, mathematics. One say 20k tables pado and you can go to 7th standard and be successful. Learn the laws of inertia or in laws of motion and you will reach a certain standard. That's not how it is. Right? There are things in aviation which I have seen which maybe nobody else has seen before. So you have to react. Something may come up because like I said, the aircraft is a machine. And this is what I used to tell so many people. Never take your aircraft for granted. The day you think you know the aircraft well, that day the aircraft will show you that there's a lot more about the aircraft you don't know. And that is the situation you're training for. That means suddenly out of the blue, there's a new situation that has come. How do you train for it? Like for example, I remember once I was doing night flying in Nalia, coming back from Jamnagar over the sea, and suddenly there were sparks flying in the front of the aircraft, on the main instrument panel. Now nothing about that is written in any of the checklists or the books. How do you react to that? So that is what I had to react to, some pool all the knowledge and the experience that I had gained. That it's an electrical thing, I need to switch off some power supply. Now what power supply should I switch off so that my other systems required to land the aircraft back safely don't go off? Because some systems in the aircraft are irreversible. You switch off a switch, even if you switch it on, it will not come back. That is what I said. To be ready for the thing which you're not trained for. To do what nobody's seen before. Keep your mind open, like they say, no? One of the common quotes that you see in 4G station is, minds like parachutes work best when open. So keep your mind open. And most importantly, tell yourself, this can happen to me. Don't say it can happen to somebody else. Somebody's ejected somewhere, somebody's crashed somewhere else. It doesn't mean it is happening to somebody else. You may be the next guy. Tell yourself, this can happen to me. Be ready all the time.
So how many years did you spend in the first?
I spent an year and then went to the next ground attack squad where I learned the nuances of ground attack, became fully operational. That was 3 years. And then when I went to an electronic warfare squad.
And all these time you were flying MiG-21?
MiG-21s for up to 6 years.
Total, how many variants of MiG-21 exist till date?
So,
before they phased it out completely?
Yeah, so in the world there are multiple variants. But in the Indian Air Force, you had about four variants. So you had a Type 75, Type 77, Type 96, the recent one Bison, and of course the trainer for that Type 69, Type 69B. Their cockpits were different. Some systems were different. The engines were all different. So the thrust required was different. So if you wanted, for example, if you wanted to land with a certain power setting, another aircraft required a different power setting. Systems were different, radars were different. Some were made for ground attack. And then Indian Air Force modified these aircraft for multi-role, different roles. For example, some which I flew like for electronic warfare, some for photo recce also, where you used to have fit cameras. And they used to run around, pick up information, come back, analyze it and use it for targeting.
Does that mean you're flying very close to the ground?
Extreme, in all fighters, you'll fly extremely close to the ground, 100 meters. There is a certain weapon where you fly, where you drop, where you fly 50 meters above the ground. Now what is 50 meters? It is half a football field. That is the distance through which so many decent footballers can kick a ball over. So if I were to kick a ball in the air, you could hit the aircraft. That is the height that hit aircraft first.
Oh my God.
That's low. That's really low. And you see aircraft, you can see trees also whizzing past you. 50 meters, you go to Bombay, there are buildings which are 200 meters now.
So, sir, during your entire career in the Air Force, you've flown only MiG-21s and all the variants?
Yes, through and through. MiG-21s, operational aircraft. Of course, others like the Kiran and the HPT and the AJT.
They're all trainer aircraft.
Trainer aircraft.
So, what is interception? Why is it called as interceptor?
So it's simple. let's say you're playing football, one guy is taking the ball across and he's going to the goal. What do? You want to stop him.
Yeah.
You intercept him.
Yeah.
Right? So basically what is interception? There is one aircraft which is on a particular mission. It has got its role. It's wanting to do something. Your job as a defender is to ensure that he doesn't meet his mission. Where, how, what to intercept is depending on your tactics, because that's also depend on what he's doing. If he's flying ultra low level, right, you may want to intercept from top. If he's flying high, you may want to intercept him from bottom. If he's near a very critical area, right, you may want him to intercept outside that area, because even if you shoot him down over your defense area or your critical area and the debris falls, he has achieved his aim. He may die, but that area is gone. So you may want to intercept before the border. You may want him to egress the border, come inside and intercept, or you may just want him to allow him to come to a particular point where you can thereafter cut off. It's like playing kabaddi. Okay, the guy who comes in saying kabaddi, you don't intercept him there itself. You allow him to go to a particular corner so that if he wants to go back, he can't go back. So there are various tactics, but that is what interception is all about. That means any enemy who's ventured or is dared to venture into your area with a specific purpose in mind, you ensure that his mission is not successful. That is interception in the basic language.
So how is interception different from dogfighting?
So it is, interception will lead to a dogfight. What is a dogfight? A dogfight is where you're pitted one aircraft against another. It could be 2 versus 1, it could be 1 versus 1, it could be 1 versus 2, 2 versus 2, and then group combat, 4 versus 2, 3 versus 2, so on and so forth. That is a dogfight, right? Now, dogfight can be one versus both of us. You are in your aircraft, I am with your aircraft, we're trying to shoot down each other. That's 1 versus 1. It could be 2 aircraft versus 1, right? In which case, I impose my numerical superiority. The tactics will vary, right? If I am with a partner, I will try and keep you engaged in a particular fight, ask him to stay hidden, come in and shoot. That is what dogfight is. What is an interception? How does it get into a dogfight? Now let us say there's an aircraft entering your territory. Okay, he's flying through. Okay. You've been asked to scramble from your base. Get airborne, there's an enemy aircraft coming in. So you scramble. Now your radar will keep updating you, right? Like you give your live location. Okay.
So what is scramble?
Okay, so basically what happens is, this is basically, it's called an operational readiness platform, where aircraft and pilots are fully ready to take off within a certain time to intercept any aircraft which tries to enter your territory. Now these timings are decided based on the distance from the border and your reaction time needed. Generally the standby times that I have been involved of are standby 10, standby 15, 5, 2. Okay.
These are minutes.
Minutes.
Okay.
So 2 was only for a MiG-21 because that was the aircraft that could get airborne the fastest, right? So in what happens is, let's say you're on standby 15, in which case you are in the aircrew restroom next to the runway. Your aircraft are fully ready and prepared with even the battery connected, weapons loaded, everything. And you're sitting in the room because it simply means that you will get 15 minutes warning to get airborne to intercept a enemy aircraft. Should an enemy aircraft get airborne and come close to the border, as it starts coming in, the radar which is monitoring will order the mission to standby 5. In which case what you do is, you leave the ACRR, put on your equipment, run, get into the cockpit, you're sitting in the cockpit with the helmet, everything on. Only thing you need to do is, you start up and get airborne, right? In the MiG-21 we had standby 2 also, because that was time was sufficient. So now let us say I'm on standby 2. And I find, and the radar finds that the enemy aircraft is going to transgress the border. The moment he knows that this is now a threat, on the loudspeaker, he would give a call. Okay, so he would say, let's say it's a mission. It's a mission 901. So he'd call would be mission 901. Scramble, scramble, scramble. Runway 31. After takeoff, climb to 3 kilometers. Heading so and so. Let's say 270, which is towards Pakistan. Contact channel 4. What does it mean is, start up the aircraft, get onto runway, that specific runway, get airborne in that direction, climb to 3 kilometers, and during this climb, select the frequency on channel 4 and communicate to the interception radar, the guy who's going to guide you. The moment that call comes, you press the starter button, close the canopy, start up the aircraft, the system's already checked, you ask him to do the external trolley, the battery, you taxi out, engage reheat, get airborne, your number 2 also gets airborne along with you. It's always a pair. You get airborne, head in that direction, climb to 3 kilometers, you contacted channel 4. Now once you're on that frequency, the radar will tell you, say bogey at 2 o'clock, 80 kilometers, height so and so. That means the target is in a clockwise pattern, this is 12 o'clock, 2 o'clock. That means from your heading, target is here at a distance of 80 kilometers, right? And then he will guide you in a particular manner so that you can intercept him. That is a scramble. And then obviously, like I said, the maneuvering carries on. As you come close, then you get into the combat or the dogfight.
Yeah.
Right?
So how many chances you have had in?
I've done a few scrambles. I've done a scramble in Nal. I've done a scramble in Bareilly. So you do scrambles. Sometimes what happens is he just sees an aircraft and you scramble and the aircraft turns back, you come back and land. There have been scrambles for civil aircraft. I remember a famous case in Bikaner, Saudi. Okay, you are supposed to, all civil aircraft fly an airway, like you have highways, they have to fly certain routes. That means if I have to go from here to Bombay, it doesn't mean I can just go straight. There will be a route. I have to report over certain points. Now this Saudia, he failed to follow the route. And when he failed to follow the route, the radar tried to contact him and he did not respond. So the fighters were scrambled, the fighters went. So the position is, what they do is, if there is an aircraft, civil aircraft, one aircraft will come in his front, the other two, number two maintains shooting position.
Okay.
So he'll waggle his wings. The moment he sees him, you go to international channel. It's got 1 to 1.5. It's a universal channel. On that frequency, then you will give him instructions. Tell him what has taken place. If he can't understand, you give hand signals. If he's not responding, then you just put on your bag, show him the weapons. Tell him, Bhai Sahab, if you don't do it, I'm going to use this. In most cases, the moment he sees you there, he panics because he realizes he'll quickly come on to 1 to 1.5. So in this case, I had heard the radio and he said, oh, friendly. So then the leader told him, you're off track, get back on track. So he got back on track and we left him.
So, sir, so what is this USRT, rocking the wings?
Yeah, so USRT is unserviceable radio communication. In this case,
radio telephony.
Yeah, so it's basically communication failure. Like in this case, remember I said 1 to 1.5 is contacted the Saudi. What happens is, you got airborne, right? You got a radio set. Now, it's unlike a civil aircraft where you got so much of space to put 3-4 radio sets. You may have 1 or maybe 2. It could be electrical fault, it could be a radio equipment fault on its own. Right? So if the radio equipment fails, you got airborne from a particular base, say like Yelahanka, I got airborne from here. Now Yelahanka is said you are clear to operate in northern area, or I am supposed to go from Yelahanka to say Hyderabad at Begumpet. Once I turn right, I am supposed to contact certain radars en route. I change our channel, I can't contact him. Now there are two things. As long as the radar can see you, the blip, he knows this aircraft is there.
Yeah.
But he can't contact you. Right? He knows where you're supposed to go.
Yeah.
But should there be a conflict in traffic, or should the weather in Begumpet not be okay, or should the runway be blocked, how does he inform you? Right? Or if you are flying in formation, 2 aircraft, and you have radio communication failure, how do you communicate with each other? How do you convey intentions to each other? So there's a procedure. Exactly. So that's when you become a bird on your own, right? So what do? There is a procedure. This has to be practiced a lot. There can be no confusion. Because if there is a confusion, you will not come back safe. So let's take 2 aircraft in formation. You're flying together, you can't communicate to each other. Now let's say my number 2 has got, I cannot communicate to him. I don't know whether my radio has failed or his radio has failed. It's just that 2 of us can't communicate. So what do? I try and contact the radar. If I can't hear the radar, my communication has failed. But if I can talk to him, that means his communication has failed.
Correct.
Right? So what do? To identify, irrespective of whose has failed, whoever observes it first, abreast, he will waggle wings. Right? And it is nice, 45 degrees, because if you just do this, he will not be able to see, because you're flying at 3 kilometers, 4 kilometers abreast from each other. So he'll waggle wings and then come close. Now, if I am flying and I see this guy coming to, I say, what the hell is he doing? He's not supposed to come close. But when I see him waggling wings, there is a problem. There's a communication failure. Right? So I will try and check. I'll give him a call. I'll give a call to radar. Maybe nothing works. Now slowly I'll maintain wings level. I'll allow him to come close. Right? When he comes close, I will wait. Right? I will look at him. Now I don't know, it's only communication failure or he's got something else, maybe a hydraulic system failure. So now this system becomes even more complicated. If this aircraft has to not only communicate that he's got a communication failure, he also has to communicate that I've got a hydraulic system failure, in which case his wheels may not come down. Right? So what do? See, waggle wings. As he comes close, you waggle. Acknowledging, I have seen. Both here.
Okay.
Right? Then this guy will say, is your mask down or your headphone down? You're that close so that you can see the hand. So if both are down, let's say he can only hear. Perfect. I can tell him, okay, we'll do this. We'll turn left. We'll go to Adampur or we'll go to Alwara. If he says down, this down, now there is a problem.
Now there's a big problem.
Big problem. Because he can't hear, he can't speak. Then I look at him. Now let us say he's got a hydraulic failure. Now there is a beautiful code. It's called a he-fall-P code. Hydraulics, electricals, fuel, oxygen, hydraulic, electricals, and so on. Okay. Now let us say he's got a hydraulic problem. So what does he do? I'm looking at him, takes his left hand, right hand is on the stick, he'll bang his head 3 times.
Oh.
Which tells me there is an additional problem. And then he'll show me one finger, which means hydraulics.
Oh, so everything has a name.
So if he says 3, electrics. If he says 4, it is oxygen.
Oh.
Now the other aircraft knows he's got this additional problem. Okay. Now in certain of these systems, whether hydraulic or electricals or control, this guy may have a landing problem or navigating problem. Okay. That also you need to come in. Now who's going to lead the other aircraft back? If he's just got any other problem, then I will tell him, you are number 1. He gives a thumbs up and he turns, now I follow him. If I need to lead him back, I will say, I am number 1. He gives a thumbs up, I turn, he follows me. And then we go back. This is a formation. Now if you're a single aircraft, you're coming back to land and you can't communicate to the ATC. You need to tell him because you don't know if the runways in use is correct. Maybe you're taken off this way, but the return could be this way.
So now that we've come to formation flying.
Yes.
So what is this young pilot adaptation in formation flying?
Okay, so basically what happens is initially you fly as a single pilot. You gain confidence of the aircraft, the single seat exercises, single pilot exercises. And then slowly as you graduate, you start getting into a formation where formation integrity, looking after each other, looking, clearing his tail. That means to defend him against enemy, behind him, front of him. So all these tactics start coming up. Once you graduate, then you become a 4 aircraft formation, right? Each member has a role in that formation. It is clearly defined. So there's always a leader of a formation. There's a subsection leader, and then number 2 and number 4. Does not mean the leader is the senior most, right? If the leader could be the junior most person in the formation.
That would bring something called as polishing of leadership skills.
Absolutely. And that is how you train him to become a leader. So there are leader checks, lead checks. So you will ask him to fly as number 1, the leader of the formation under supervision of a senior guy. And then you assess his performance. That will tell me after a certain syllabus, is he good enough to lead 4 youngsters into battle? That's how slowly you upgrade. So it could be single, then 2, and then 4, and so on and so forth. So you could be even leading a 20 aircraft formation in that manner.
This is too much of out of the box, keep evaluating, keep
Absolutely,
learning,
keep upgrading. There is never an end. Incidentally, I have been flying for 33 years now, right? Even today, I am tested for flying twice a year. Ground subjects as well as simulators. Passing is 80%. If you don't pass, you don't fly. So this is never ending. Till the last flight, you have to keep studying.
Sir, so how many emergencies have you had to face till date?
32 years, I have lost count. But yeah, if there were a few, if I could recollect, I've had a hydraulic failure when I was landing in Nasik. I've got an electrical failure. Then I've had a failure where I had landed, somehow managed to land and became unconscious. And I wrote an article. In Bangalore, there is a guy who's joined civil airport called Manoj Punna. I wrote an article. I met him after so many years. We shared a beer. And I wrote an article and even journalists had shared it. You know this guy, no? Shiv Arur, who's a famous aviation. So he also shared it. So he had pulled me out of the aircraft, taken me to the hospital, and I had recovered. Then I had a failure where...
These are the life-threatening emergencies.
Then I had a failure where I was stuck with power at 87%. I couldn't get the power back. So imagine if you're driving a car and your car is stuck at a speed of 80 and you want to stop. How would you stop? So that was one. Then recently I had a hydraulic failure in a Airbus 320 where I was flying nice and just leveled off on top and my cabin crew suddenly came inside. I got a warning and my cabin crew said, so there was an explosion on the left engine and the passengers are panicking. And then that is when everything that you've learned in your life comes to the fore. Forget leadership skills, team spirit, your requirement to stay calm in such situations. Bring all your knowledge back at the correct time, at the correct place, in the correct manner, in the correct sequence. Whatever you have learned from others, whatever you have learned from the books, practical training, theoretical training, everything has to amalgamate to ensure that you get the aircraft back safely. In fighters, maybe I am alone or with a number 2 in a twin cockpit. In the Airbus, I had 170 plus passengers and 6 crew. So their lives are in my hand.
Correct. Yeah.
So huge number of qualities. So you can't, it is difficult to say this quality will help you or this quality is paramount. They are all qualities all together. It's like they say, each element of the chemical table, periodic table has its own importance. But when you make a mixture which you require, say an alloy, all the chemicals have to come together to get the best material.
In a particular proportion.
Yeah, so it gives you heat, it gives you strength, it gives you durability. But they're all small chemicals which come together. Each one does not have that capability. But when put together, they will give you something which is much bigger. That's what I mean in aviation. All your individual qualities may reach, say, 5 out of 10, 6 out of 10. But when they have to amalgamate, they should become 10 out of 10. Because there is no second chance.
Most of the things that you've been talking about are one-way doors.
Absolutely,
most of the things.
Absolutely.
And the speed of decision is extremely high.
Yeah, like I said, to borrow a quote from a movie, which says, where Akshay Kumar has said, in normal life, you can keep taking a take after take after take. Now that I've been part of 2 films, I know, well, let's repeat the take. Well, let's do a take again. There is no retake here.
There is no retake.
Your first take could be the last take. And you may not get another chance.
Yeah, that's true, sir. That's true. So, sir, you mentioned that you became a QFI, right?
Yeah. So basically what happens is, QFI is what is a qualified flying instructor.
Yeah.
You need somebody to teach the new entrant.
Okay.
Right? So after a certain service, where you get assessed for your ability, for your capability, your performance, and of course your sort of qualities that you have displayed to become an instructor. You get assessed, then you get selected, and then you go to the flying instructor school. You spend about 6 to 6.5 months learning to become an instructor. What is most important is, even at that stage, there are people who are sent back during the course of the course saying that you're not good enough to become an instructor. And then you become an instructor, and then you go to training stage, where you fresh guys who come in, you teach them how to fly. So that is the challenge. Now, teaching everything is easy. Teaching on the board is easy. Coaching in the nets is easy. Teaching flying is a different ball game.
It's a pain.
It's a completely different game.
You would want your pupil to come back. If you launch them solo, वापस आ जल्दी.
Yeah, and that is the biggest stress that you have. Having served there, when you clear a guy, you're testing him. He does his dual check. Now you take him for one test and you say, look at everything. I think he can come back alive. And then you get out from the aircraft and you say, all the best. And he started up his aircraft. Now you have no control on him. Nothing at all. He is going to fly and you have to get him back. So you will sit in the ATC and monitor him. Maybe you will give him a call. You can try and talk him down. Okay. There are guys who have not been able to land in the first solo. And then I'm sitting at the runway with a radio set and telling him in the air, he's coming down. Okay, reduce power, raise the nose. Hoping like hell he's listening to me and doing what I am telling him to do. Because if he doesn't do it, he doesn't come back and land. Okay, so I'll tell you a very interesting story. I was an instructor in a training center and I was getting ready to go for a sortie. And suddenly I get a call from one of my coastmates. Abhi, where are you? I said, मैं sortie के लिए जा रहा हूँ. He says, quickly come to the ACP hut, that approach control hut. I said, क्या हो गया? Bolte, there's a guy who's not landing. And I'm not able to make him land. So I quickly picked up my bike, rushed there, I took over the radio. By this time, this guy just come for approach and gone round, didn't land. Came again, gone round. So when he went round, I gave him a call, I tried to calm him down and I said, okay, turn downwind. And that is one of the most challenging parts. There's a guy who's flying a jet. It's under his control. You have no control. Now, he's under tension, he's maybe panicking. That things are not happening and he's scared of landing. Now imagine trying to talk him to land. First need to calm him down and then tell him to look at the correct things at the correct time. And now you get him along the circuit pattern, he comes on approach and he's coming into land. You need to tell him to do things. You also need to ensure that you give him confidence that he can land. Because if you just want to talk him down, it happens too fast. At a particular time, if it doesn't act as per you, he will crash land. So when he came on approach, I kept talking him down and kept giving him confidence. And finally, as he came in on the approach, short finals, I said, just close throttle and hold the stick. So he closed throttle, hold the stick, landed, end of the landing roll, came back. Then I met him. I said, what happened? He said, ज़्यादा कुछ याद ही नहीं है. Now what do I tell him? I don't only want to lose temper because I was furious. I said, my God, this guy. I mean, it was a worrisome thing. But that's when all your training, all your qualities, everything that you've been taught come to the fore. That was his first solo.
I think, sir, they have tried to showcase this in this movie Fighter.
Oh, is it so? I haven't seen the movie yet, but could be. So it becomes a major issue, no? And then, we gave him an additional couple of dual checks, and thereafter he went on to do extremely well in flying. But at that time, if I had destroyed his confidence or I had yelled at him, screamed at him, maybe he would not have continued in his training and become a successful pilot. But he served well and served the Air Force very well indeed.
So, sir, like you mentioned that you got commissioned in 1992.
Correct.
And after 6 years of service, you became QFI,
Correct.
qualified flying instructor.
Yeah.
And that's like the youngest an officer could come.
Yeah, at 6 years.
At
correct.
6 years.
Correct.
So you are one of those, I could say, fewest, finest
No,
fighter pilots.
sometimes, like I keep saying, in fighter flying or in aviation, it's not a question of good and bad. It's a question of each one trying to do his best. And there is no, it's 19-20 ka farak hai. It's all abstract assessment. It's very difficult to find out who's going to fly well and who's going to fly. Because today I may fly the best sortie in history. The next one could be the worst in history. That's how aviation is.
That's how aviation is. But so sir, that means 98 you must have become QFI.
Correct.
And then 99 is Op Safed Sagar.
Yeah, the war, famous war.
The famous war.
Well, that's
So,
something.
Just for the sake of our viewers, Operation Safed Sagar is the operation named by the Indian Air Force to fight Kargil war.
Correct.
दुनिया जानती है, जनता को पता है. The world knows it कि हाँ Kargil war है because of the location.
Correct.
But it is Op Safed Sagar, like Op Vijay of the Army. Operation Safed Sagar is the operation of the Air Force. Yeah. So, sir, I'm sure you must have got some chance to participate in.
Okay, so Op Safed Sagar is the Air Force part of the campaign, as you said.
Yeah.
It was one of the biggest challenges that India faced. Because primarily before that, you were on a period of peace with Pakistan. The famous Lahore bus, where Prime Minister Vajpayee went across. We had Bonhomie, and they were supposed to be discussing peace overtures and all that. And then they cheated us, right? So it took us by surprise, as is clearly shown also in public domain. We came to know through the locals, the Bakarwals, as they say. And then the army went in. When the army went in, they realized the scale of the operation because they had taken over the land and then they wanted the Air Force to participate. So the first recce, which was done by a Canberra, took off from Srinagar, it was shot by a missile, a surface-to-air missile called Stinger. That is when it shook the Air Force that they have got even this kind of weaponry which is meant for war. That's when you realize it's not terrorists, it's not intruders, it is a regular Pak troops. Then the Air Force was called in, the Air Force was mobilized, people from all, wherever you were in training or in instruction training, were activated and sent to the operational squadrons. And then the campaign happened. The extent of the weaponry that they had was still not known. It got known only when we lost 2 more aircraft, the late Squadron Ahuja. And of course, when POW, that's when the Air Force went in. And at those heights, the Indian Air Force had never envisaged carrying out operations at that height. And there were limitations. So modifications had to be done. But yes, a lot of operations were carried out, a lot of modifications on the go were done. And then you had this laser guided weapons with pinpoint accuracy. It was a challenging time. We did... touch wood, luckily after that when we started taking precautions only we lost 2 aircraft. But we lost a couple of helicopters also. But those are times that you prepare for.
And you were a flight lieutenant then?
I was a flight lieutenant then.
And you were flying MiG-21s?
MiG-21s. So those are the times that you prepare for. You wait all your time, you keep training, keep practicing, you spend money, you spend time, you spend effort, and then maybe you get one chance to fight a war. Yes, after that, Op Parakram also happened when the parliament was attacked and the entire armed forces were mobilized. The entire Air Force was mobilized. We went, converted. Like that time I was flying a Kiran aircraft. And I had not flown MiG-21s for about 3.5 years. So it takes time to convert back. So I went to Jodhpur, quickly moved there, then we converted to MiG-21s, and then I started flying MiG-21s to be ready for war. And touch wood, the war didn't take place. Then we came back to training command and started training again. So those are things that happen. So that's when your adaptability, ability to accept things, ability to accept change at short notice come to the fore. Because I was flying an instructor at a fixed base, suddenly you are activated, you go there, now suddenly you have to study. start flying a MiG-21, which is a completely different machine.
Yeah.
And then you get converted. And now, once you finish your conversion, now you're waiting for the operations. Then you're not flying as much, right? And then after some time, they say, okay, I think it's okay. Now we can
agility, adaptability.
Exactly.
Agility, adaptability.
And then you come back, and now your mindset has to change to instructional role again, from a combat pilot to instructional role, and vice versa. So things happen, things change. And I think that's why this period of training, whether in NDA or in Naval Academy or in Air Force Academy, where things happen to you, and like they say, the informal training is much more important than the formal training, because the informal training has come down over a period of decades through experience, right? And that today I feel is extremely important. What your senior teaches you is far more important than what's written in the books. Because what is written in the books is theory. What has come down through your seniors is practical experience. And that is above everything else, which unlike in, say, other vocations where you study books, you study processes, it's a syllabus. There is no syllabus here. The canvas is so wide, it is unlimited. I can't say that read this Art of War by Sun Tzu and you'll be a good warrior. No, it doesn't work that way.
It doesn't work like that.
Exactly. So these are things that happen 1:1, individual to individual, groups to individual. So it is duty bound, history, legacy. What I was taught, I had to pass down on my juniors. What I taught them, they had to pass it down to the next one. So these are qualities. I know this is something very different. I don't know how to put a word to it. But these are things which are completely different. They are alien. Like I've been a civilian now for a fair bit of time. It doesn't happen here. Here
I
in this
would
book.
say veteran. Veteran is the right word.
And so, for example, in the civil parlance, how do we do it? When I fly, it is safe, legal, economical. Everything. First safety, then legality, and then economical. Right? In the forge, it is not so. Forge is what? Mission accomplishment at all cost. Individual is relevant, irrelevant. The task is paramount. It doesn't matter. Right? So it doesn't matter if tomorrow, let's say I get airborne from Adhampur, 2 aircraft, I'm going for a ground attack mission. There'll be 2 aircraft coming from Pathankot as my air defense escorts. I don't know their names. They're just joining in on time without a radio call. So there'll be a time 093017 seconds over Gurdaspur. So I will fly in a particular route. At that time, those guys will just slot in. We become 4 from 2 and carry on. After some time, 2 electronic warfare slot in. We become 6 and we carry on. And then we fly the mission, come back from our respective points. We go back. So imagine the flexibility required to accept. It's amazing. It is just something which I have not seen anywhere else.
So why is MiG-21 called flying coffin?
It is a colloquial term. Okay, so I will just go back a bit about the story. See, when the MiG-21s were made, they were made by Russia for 2 purposes. One is they were flown by the most experienced pilots, right? And secondly, they were meant for high altitude interceptions. Remember, I said standby too early in the scramble thing. The MiG-21 starts up in 45 seconds. So I have rolled in a MiG-21 in a scramble in about 1 minute 30 seconds, in that short time. What is it designed for? To take off in that short time, do a supersonic climb, high altitude, intercept from a high altitude. That's one. When it came to India, we have used it for multiple purposes. MiG-21 was not used for low-level flying by the Russians. Used it for low-level flying. So the inherent risk increased. Secondly, let me draw an example. Suppose you have a brand new Mercedes and you got a brand new driver and you got a Maruti 800. Fresh driver come to you. Would you give him Mercedes to drive on the first day?
The probability is very less.
So what would you do?
You train him on the...
You tell him, show me your skills. If you want to test somebody, he says, चल बैठ Mercedes में मेरे को दिखा कैसे चलाता है. You will tell him, यार एक बार Maruti चला के देख. Let me see you handle everything. Then you graduate. That's the same. You had MiG-21s, you had Mirage 2000, you had MiG-29. We had 40 of either of them. So when a fresh pilot came, what would you do? You put him to the MiG-21 because we had more than 75%. It was cheaper. Yes, it was risky. But then what do? You have no option. Given a choice, if the Air Force had unlimited money, you would have only MiG-29s or only Su-30s or only Mirage 2000s. You are not such a country. So there are inherent risks. And like I always say, if God wanted man to fly, he would have given you wings. Do you know recently in the last 6 months, there have been 3 F-16 crashes?
Yes.
There have been Osprey, the tilt rotor. They have been grounded in the US Air Force. The most modern aircraft, but they've been grounded. It is just that we tend to make news about events, but we don't make news about events abroad. So there have been accidents galore of all aircraft. It is bound to happen. They are inherently unstable platforms, like I said.
Yeah.
Yes, in India the risk was enhanced because for the two reasons I said. And secondly, if you go out on the road, if you take the number of accidents that have taken place, how many Maruti accidents or today say Hyundai accidents and how many Mercedes accidents? If you compare.
Hyundai would be probably a little more.
Exactly. So if you have 75% MiG-21s and only 10% MiG-29s and Mirage 2000s, how many accidents would take place of a MiG-21? And
Statistically, they would look higher. Yeah.
That is what happened.
Yeah.
That is precisely what happened. Otherwise, and like I said, respect the aircraft will respect you. The day you think you know the aircraft will show you that it knows more.
So your call sign has been always ABBEE.
Yes.
ABBEE.
ABBEE in the sense nickname, but your call sign changed squadron to squadron. So first was Phantom, then it was Khanjar, then it was Pistol, then it was Virgo. Every squad has got different call signs.
Different call signs.
If you have the same call sign, then the information flows across.
Yeah.
So you
So
don't.
do you have did you also have that kind of a helmet which had your
Yeah.
call
So
sign?
we had a helmet. We would paint our aircraft and the call sign and things like that.
And you had some kind of a patch, something to wear.
so
This is me, that is me. And all that.
Yeah. So incidentally,
Fancy.
I had a helmet even when I retired. So I use it to drive my bike. So I modified it with a Bluetooth so I can listen to songs and talk on it through my mobile. So that's one. And yes, I still have my patches, like you're saying. As a youngster, I bought a denim jacket. Every squad that I went to, the patch and the wing and all, I posted on that. That's a standard. It's like a syllabus every fighter pilot has to do. No?
Yeah.
To get accepted in the... It's like the Ray-Ban, the story they say a fighter pilot is naked without the Ray-Ban.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, that's one of the things that GTOs also wear Ray-Ban, by the way.
So they are also as naked as fighter pilots.
Yeah, they are as naked as fighter pilots. Yeah. So the next, as I know about you, that you graduated from QFI, you had a chance to participate in operations of Sagar as well. Did quite some missions there.
Yeah.
I'm sure some bombing missions here and there. Let's not touch upon there. I don't want to hurt the OSA. But then, I remember you speaking that you graduated to become a flight commander. Also.
Yeah, so there is a general trend or the general progress pattern as you gain experience or a development of an officer and a pilot in a fighter squad. So you join as a youngster, like I said, individual pilot, then you graduate to formation, then you become a leader of a 2-aircraft formation, then you become a leader of a 4-aircraft formation, then you become a trainer captain, twin seat, so you fly instrument flying, others with the youngsters. Then you become a supervisor, where you supervise the flying of trainers. Then you become an instructor or a fighter combat leader. That's a general graduation. And at about, say, 13 to 15 years of service, you become in charge of all flying in a fighter squad. There's a commanding officer, there is a flight commander who runs the entire operation.
So is he like flight commander is number one of the CO?
Yeah,
just like
so he's the number 2 in the squad.
He
runs the entire operations.
Yeah.
So I was flight commander in a squadron in the western sector. So we flew a lot. And we used to take part in exercises and everything. So that was the most satisfying appointments of my life.
Any specific mission that you remember that you would like to talk about where things went south, not only with respect to the equipment, but also with respect to your junior pilots in the air?
There were.
You had to take everyone back.
There were. We had a major issue of unserviceability of the aircraft. We had a specific issue with the engine, and it was a worrisome thing because we had a few accidents and they said we don't know what to do, and that was a challenging time because every time you're giving the guy an aircraft to fly, you always want him to come back alive, and there were incidents. So I had a case where a youngster went off the runway, and like I said, the challenging time was when I had to ground 2 guys and send them to different streams. Now those guys have been in NDA for 3 years, 1 year in training, so 4 years of hard work getting undone to change something else. It was tough. Individual wise, yes, I had a total of about 14 to 15 youngsters, fresh raw youngsters, imagine 22, 23 years hot-blooded youngsters trying to control them, yet make them fly, yet make them disciplined. But then, like I always say, if you can know about each one, know how to set them on the correct path, you will always run the unit well. Like for example, one of the first things I did was when I became a flight commander was that we will start flying at 7, finish at 2. Because every day evening I like to play, all of us will play. And so this is one of the things, conflict management as they say.
Yeah.
So I started a system that every Friday at 1:30 we would all gather in the bar. Okay. We will all have beer, right?
PLD?
So no, it was just bar. It was bar to have beer to sort out.
Yeah.
So during this session, any youngster could talk to any instances, sir, on this day you told me this, which was not wrong, and then you could explain why it happened. So whatever grudges you would settle down, finish the week, and then you start afresh on a Monday.
Yeah.
So this is
Fresh
called
set
the
of grudges.
Yeah, absolutely. So in a way, what happened was it broke certain barriers with a lot of youngsters, right? It allowed me to understand them, it allowed them to understand me, and we became a slightly more happier unit. Right?
You're
But it
cultivating.
didn't mean I was casual. I was one of the most rigid guys as far as rules go. I wouldn't allow even a little bit of leeway in the rules. Like for example, reporting for briefing time. I was never late, and anybody who reported late got a real stick for it. Because I said the first thing about you is punctuality. If you can't be punctual, you don't respect the person.
So you're cultivating social adaptability, cooperation,
yes,
and sense of
absolutely.
responsibility में तो कोई doubt नहीं चाहिए.
That is
Because you made it very clear. This उस continuum पे ये extreme
this
thing
absolutely.
है. Fighters know
It's
will not
so
pay.
much of money, taxpayers' money. It's given in your hand, not for fun.
Yeah. Although you would have really fun.
Yeah, you have fun, but do it in the right way. Get the aircraft back so that you can have fun again.
Yeah. That's correct. So then, sir, anything specific after flight commander in your tenure? In
Yeah,
the
so
Air Force?
after the flight commander, I went as chief operations officer to a base in the Rajasthan sector. Again, a very satisfying tenure. And I was there for about year and a half. That's the time I was flying a MiG-12 and also flying a microlight also. So I flew about 200 hours on the microlight.
So what's the difference between, what is this microlight? Sorry.
Okay, so microlight is a small aircraft which has got a propeller. And this one had a propeller in the rear.
Oh.
And you could just start it with the ignition and just 300 feet you could get airborne, fly around for basically for bird recce and environmental check. So this was a standard procedure. So before that I had flown the same microlight when I was SFSI, that is Station Flight Safety Officer. And that's the time I gave a lot of joyrides to a lot and everyone who had never flown before. So we had a register, they would come and write in the register, and every day about 3-4 guys, because I had to do this flying, and it was a 2-seater. So I'd make them sit behind, get them airborne, show them the city, show them the station, try and take it over where they stayed in the Air Force station. So things like that. So like I said, motivation. Now there are guys who never get a chance to fly, but this is an opportunity which I had to make them fly. So I took a lot of guys to fly, and for them it was a completely different experience. But it was not only for their fun. It was meant to also make them understand what flying requires. How difficult it is. It is very challenging. So that was what was important.
And then, sir, towards the end of your career in the Air Force, I think you became some chief.
Yeah, I was chief ground instructor for Air Force Station. And again, the best part about being an instructor in training command is every 6 months you get fresh set of trainees. They bring with them such josh and energy and a sort of culture and something new. Every time, even earlier when I was a QFI or when I was in a training squad, I was always very eager and expecting to meet these guys because every human being is different, right? The importance is to get them to do the same thing in the same way, in the same manner, at the same time, all the time, but yet allow them to retain their individuality. You can't kill the individual because if you try to kill the individual, he's killed as a human being.
Yeah, you can't take the basic shit out
exactly.
of him.
So it is important to allow him to have that individuality, but make him do what you want to do in the manner that the Air Force needs it to do.
Correct.
So I enjoyed the tenure. It was about a year and a half, and I flew the Hawk, and I flew like mad. There were 4 squadrons of trainees, and I'd fly with all the 4 squadrons. So I ended up flying about 350 hours in less than a year and a half, which is a huge amount. And then, yes, on 31st July 2015, I bid adieu to the Air Force.
No, but before that, there is something very important that we are missing. You went on a deputation to Government of Maharashtra.
Yeah, correct. So that was, So towards the end of my tenure as the Chief Operations Officer, they asked for pilots from the Indian Air Force to fly the Government of Maharashtra. So
Who was your guest on the flight, sir?
So there was Chief Minister, Governor, and obviously a host of other ministers along with them. And yes, there was I flew even President Kalam. That time he was not a president, but so I went on deputation. I had my civil license, so 3 years I flew that, flying them, and that's when you discover a difference. Okay, like Maharashtra has got 29 operational runways. I never knew.
Including Yavatmal also has
Yavatmal. So I flew everywhere, and 3 years it was good. It was decent experience, but I am a soldier. So interacting with politicians became a bit too much. At the end of 3 years, I said, no, enough. I could have continued, but then I told the Air Force, I need to go back.
But this was a deputation from the Air Force to the
Yeah, from the
government.
Air Force. So,
But you mentioned that you had some civil license.
yeah, so what happens is, so if you want to fly a civil aircraft, you need to have a civil flying license by the Director General of Civil Aviation. So in the service, after a certain number of years of service, the Air Force will give you a no objection certificate to appear for the DGC exams. If you clear the exams, then fly the civil flying syllabus and then get a civil flying license.
Has there been any time in your life while flying in the civil world that you have been exposed to that kind of a stress in the cockpit?
Many times.
Equivalent of the stress that you've been exposed in a MiG-21 cockpit?
In a different manner. Why I say that the stress level are the same, the manner is different. Because today when I fly, there are 186 souls, lives are in my hand. That in itself is a stress in itself, right? Like I speak about this so many times that when I'm sitting in the cockpit, when I'm preparing my aircraft, I look out of the cockpit window on the aero bridge or on the ladder. And I see at least every time I see at least 10 to 15 people looking at me. Right? And when I look at them, the first thought that comes to mind is, I'm sure these guys are thinking that this is the idiot who's going to take me home safely.
Right, sir. So have you seen this movie, sir, Sully?
Yeah, it's an amazing movie. More than the movie, I was impressed with the actions. And why I say so is, that's one prime example of an aviation. What he did was not according to the book. He did something was completely outside the book.
In your opinion, what is the difference between a fighter pilot in the Air Force and a naval fighter pilot?
Not much of a difference. The only major difference that I find is that he lands on a carrier, which yes is difficult because the carrier is in 3 dimensions and he's also flying in 3 dimensions.
Correct, sir.
So he has to match it.
Anything specific because of the deck conversion? Limited amount of space?
Runway length, no, not necessary because in the fighters now you land in like this MiG-29 can take off in a marker and a half. With the tail parachute they do a short landing.
What is a marker and a half, sir?
That is the distance amount. There's a markers on the side of the runway which tell you how much distance to go.
What is the distance between 2 markers?
300 meters.
So that's about 450 meters mein land kar jayega.
And then, like the Su-30, it is a short field landing. Forget fighters now, even a Hercules and a transport aircraft which do exertion, insertion, special they take off and land in short distances. The major difference is yes, carrier 2 things. One is you can say a short landing. The point is the movement of the ship and the movement of the aircraft. And next is the arrestor hook.
Yeah.
Those are the things that are different.
You get 3 chances.
Yeah. So
if you miss the third one, again you go full throttle and I think about 250 miles.
Yeah,
you take off, I think.
So that is the major challenge. And of course the pressures on the undercarriage of the landing gear of the naval aircraft are much higher. Because they have to come in, they have to land with full power. Unlike in a normal fighter, what you come is you come on the runway, you reduce the power to idle and you just float the aircraft down to land. Here you have to come with full power because you got only that much distance. Should you not arrest the hook, you have to go full throttle and take off again. You can't fall over the ship. So peculiarities, specifics, but minor differences.
Sir, can you walk me through an emergency in which not only the system went south, but also the team is going south, and now you're the leader?
Yeah, system-wise, I can definitely tell you. In MiG-21, I had this in 2002, 7th October 2002, if I remember it correctly. We were carrying out a 2 aircraft plus 1 interceptor tactical mission, and then when we finished the mission, we were coming back to land. And I came into land, and like I just explained, you close throttle, reduce power to land. Now you obviously don't look at the throttle which is below you. Right? You just move it to the mechanical stop. So I moved it back and then waited for the aircraft to sink because there was no power. The aircraft didn't sink. It floated and I moved the throttle back again. And I realized it's not moving. So I waited and I saw the speed. The landing speed is higher for MiG-21. It's about 320 to 330. And as you close throttle, it washes off. It was still 300. And to my horror, I saw the RPM needle, that is the power needle, was 87%. And you can't land with that. So I tried to move the throttle back more, it wouldn't move. Somehow I forced the aircraft to touch down. After I touched down, I knew I had to apply brakes and we have a tail parachute. But I had to get the aircraft speed to below the tail parachute limits because you apply at a higher speed, because of the inertia, the parachute would blow and I would lose that method of deceleration. So brake apply karke, I deployed the tail parachute and I was desperately trying to stop the aircraft. And then there was an aircraft landing behind me. Okay. So I gave a call to ATC that asked him to go around. But in that confusion, he didn't hear the call. The next aircraft behind me also landed.
No.
Now I didn't have enough runway length. So somehow with great difficulty, I was trying to brake and control everything with emergency brakes. Then I thought of bursting the tires. So I used the emergency brakes which doesn't have any control for burst the tires. Full emergency brakes and the aircraft was still rolling. And I switched off the fuel tanks. But the fuel is also under gravity feed. So the fuel tanks kept feeding. And with great difficulty, by the end of the runway, there's an arrestor barrier, right? To stop the aircraft. I just stopped short of that.
Oh my God.
Somehow I managed. And when it stopped, the power was full on. And the aircraft was that sound. So I waited. By the time then, of course, ATC realized. And then I was communicating with them. I said, this is what has happened. My power is stuck. I can't reduce it. They said, can't you switch it off? I said, I can't switch it off because the switching off process is the throttle has to go to idle. Then you have to lift a catch and move it behind. It was mechanically stuck. So I waited for 10-12 minutes. And then obviously you're holding on with your hand. Your hand started getting tired. So this is when they say to think out of the box. None of this was written in any book ever. So the first thought that came to mind is, if I slip on brakes, I will go to the arrestor barrier, which is metal cables. And neither the aircraft will survive and maybe not me. So I had to think of a way. So what did I do was, if this is the barrier, I slowly turned the aircraft around and parked it like this. The reason was simple. That should I jump, my hand relax and the aircraft starts moving, I've got another 3 kilometers to stop it. I will stop it somewhere, but then I can keep stopping, relaxing, things like that. Because my hand was getting tired. Tried the right hand, don't work. And like Murphy's.
Resourcefulness.
Yeah, Murphy's. Now this aircraft is parked like this with full power, and then you have this crash fire tender and everybody coming in to help. Remember I told you the crash fire tender guy had pulled me out? He came and parked right across the aircraft.
Oh my God.
No. Because that's where he's normally supposed to. That's the correct position. Because he has to push the fire extinguisher, in that case, through the engine. So he's parked there. And to my horror, now I can't communicate because the engine is going on. So the station commander came in a gypsy and was standing there looking at me. Now I indicated to him, same USRT, come on the radio. So he came on the radio, I told him, sir, ask this CFT to move out in front, because if my hand loses control on the brakes, I will go through the CFT, maybe I'll kill another guys and cause an explosion. So then I saw him running and move the CFT out. Then I had to hang on to that, good about 27-30 minutes. Now the engineers came, they had to go under the aircraft, belly of the aircraft, the full power on. And now that was bigger tension, because now there are 2-3 human beings below the aircraft who are going to open the panel and switch off the engine. I can't afford to release brakes. I can't afford to let my hand go off that brake, irrespective of how tired the hand is, because if I do that, those guys will also get injured. After what seemed like an eternity, and then after some time, suddenly I heard that engine going down. It was like, I mean, I can't describe. So I waited, and then I wanted to open the canopy. I had no arms in my, I had no strength in my arms to open it. And that guy put a ladder, he came up, and he says, "Niche aa jao." Now to get out of the aircraft, you have to put your hands on the side and get up. I had no strength in my arms to push myself up. So I told him, help me, pick me up. So he picked me up, I stood, came outside. During this process also, there are certain systems that can burn down in the aircraft because of the power setting. So at that time I selected there's a system called boundary layer control. I selected that off so that the system could survive. And then we came back, investigation was carried out, they found some bolt which had stuck, because of which this happened. This action was never, a case has never been experienced before, ever. And then I wrote an article about it, and then the Air Force came out with a sequence of actions to be done in this case.
So you discovered a new...
and then of course the Air Force...
This can also be one of the reasons.
Gave me a commendation for that aircraft.
So this was a Chief of
Air
Chief
Force
of
Staff
Air
commendation, 26 Jan 2003.
2003.
And the funny part was, I had just come back from Bidar, where I had not flown the MiG-21 for a long time, and this was my 7th or 8th sortie on a MiG-21 after a break.
And like you always say that every time you have to go and attack.
Every time you have to go through the entire thing all over again. Yes, some of the old things come back. It's like if you've been riding, earlier days, you remember the Bullet had a gear on the left and the brake on the right hand side
Yeah.
compared to other
Left
bikes.
on- left
yeah,
side, yeah.
opposite side. So if you've driven the bullet for some time and you drive the other bike, took some time to get used to it.
Yeah.
Then you go back to the bullet, some time, but those memory comes back.
Yeah.
Something
Muscle
like that.
memory comes back.
Yeah, something
But
like that.
Yeah. So, sir, before an aircraft has to fly, or before the team has to before the team has to be pulled together for a mission, what does the ground staff do? What are the people in the engineering,
For a mission to go, there has to be, like I said, a lot of things have to come together to merge to set that aircraft on the mission.
Can you walk through some kind of planning and organizing?
Okay, so let's say I'll talk of a 4 aircraft mission, right? So there is a 4 aircraft ground attack mission that is to take place.
When you say ground attack mission, that means you have to drop bombs.
Yeah, you have to drop bombs or rockets or whatever. You have to drop ammunition on the ground.
On some specific target.
Any specific target,
Yeah.
right? So let us take there's a 4 aircraft mission. Now obviously there are 4 aircraft, there are 4 pilots. So they have a preparation of their own, right? Then for the aircraft to be ready, you also have what is called as weapon to target matching. For example, if there is a specific target, a bomb may have no effect on it. So I need to select which weapon has to be used. Similarly, a target on which a rocket is effective, a bomb may not be, and vice versa. So firstly, I have to select that weapon. Now, when I think of the target, I analyze it, I say I need to carry this weapon. When you need to carry that weapon, that equipment needs to be attached to the aircraft. For example, a rocket is to be carried, a rocket pod. It's like a magazine of an aircraft in which bullets are put. A rocket pod is attached in which the rocket's going. For a bomb, a particular launcher comes in. So you plan it out, then the fuel. Because with additional load, you require additional fuel. So maybe drop tanks. Then you need to know how much time you're going to fly in that mission. So you plan the fuel. Now you say, I need 4 aircraft. If you just ask the ground crew to prepare 4 aircraft, and if one of them becomes unserviceable, the mission is a waste.
Yeah.
So you'll ask for a standby.
Yeah.
Right? So you'll tell them tomorrow morning, let's say I might take off at 7. I'll tell him, give me 4 aircraft plus 1 standby with this weapon configuration. Different aircraft have different configuration and this fuel state. So they will start preparing the aircraft.
This is an operational plan done by the pilots, and the requirement has to be floated to
the engineer.
Engineer. Okay.
Right? You're giving it to him. Now the engineers will come in the morning, pull out the aircraft, park them in a particular place, refuel them, put the oxygen, the hydraulics, the oil, check all the systems, because even the systems to drop the bomb or the rocket have to be checked.
Yeah, I'm just looking. Have we put the engineers ka something? Yeah, I'm sure we put it.
Yeah, they will be.
Yeah.
So then you put all that together, then they'll refuel weapon, upload the weapon. A weapon has to be checked because it can't fail. You may have rocket, but you press the trigger, weapon doesn't go, it's a waste. So they will have circuitry checks. Everything will be done, but the triggers and everything will be safe, kept safe, so that they don't misfire. During this time, the pilots will be in the squadron. There will be a briefing conducted. Right? The mission leader, 4 aircraft formation will brief. The mission is very specific. They will tell us what is the mission, what is the aim, what is the composition. So if there are me, you, and 3 and 4, so I'll say I am the mission leader, you are number 2, he's number 3, number 4. Duties and responsibility of each of them in the formation is briefed. The frequencies to be used are briefed. The fuel total carried is briefed. Now the fuel has got different calculations. You got a full fuel, then you say minimum fuel to undertake the mission. Minimum fuel to cross the border, because you'll simulate a border. Minimum fuel to launch the weapon, and minimum fuel to come back over it. Any of this violated, you have to abandon the mission and come back.
Oh my God.
Because even if you drop the bomb, destroy the target, but you can't make it back to base, you lose an aircraft. What is the point of doing it? You must always survive to live another day.
Correct. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So this is fuel. Then radio communication, where all you will communicate, where all you will stay silent, where all based on time in the map you will change frequencies. So there's a navigation map. There will be a route you will plan, because let's say I want to hit that target. I will not go as a straight line because the enemy is expecting you. So I'll try and make a devious route, either from here or from here. All 4 cannot drop the bomb together, because if you drop together, the explosion will claim the other guy. So there is a 15-second interval. So navigation has to be planned that all fall together. At a particular point, one chap starts attacking, the other delays by 15 seconds, third delays by further 15 seconds, and then drops the weapon. So that the debris clears, and then you fire, and then get away, get back together, so that you can defend each other and come back. So this briefing is carried out. If the takeoff is at 7, the briefing could be as early as 5:30, because the briefing takes about 30-35 minutes. Then you wear your flying clothing, carry the equipment, the map, the GPS, the clock, etc. Walk to the aircraft, sign the aircraft, go there, check the systems. When you go there, he will arm the weapons. That means the safety pins will be pulled down. You'll check the fuel, do the external checks, get inside, check all the systems, start up, and then all four will taxi out and get airborne.
This is exactly what Bollywood has tried to show in the few movies in the recent past, and I'm sure you are consulting for Skyforce.
Yeah, a bit of it.
Yeah,
yes.
a bit of it. But yeah,
But those are different types, yeah.
Yeah, but I just wanted the viewers to understand this is exactly what happens in planning the mission.
Yeah, this is specific for every mission. Even if it's a single aircraft, the process has to be gone through.
Guys, this is real life. This is not real. Sorry, this is not real. This is real.
Yeah.
This is exactly how it is done. And that is why I've called sir to explain all these things. What does it take to become a fighter pilot? It is not a straightforward thing.
Yeah, so I will tell you this. So if you had to fly 2 missions in a day, only 2 missions, it may take 8 hours of preparation and planning and everything. And for that, the previous day you'll make the map and study the map, because in the aircraft there is no space to keep the map. I mean, now today's systems are electronic, but there were times we used to hold the map like this. With the throttle, because there's no other place, because you have to look, fly. So you have to hold it like this, read the map and fly.
Yeah.
So there are different techniques, different tactics. So many of these things are not written anywhere, but they have come about with experience.
This is all practical intelligence.
This is just come out with experience. And that's why I said the informal training in the forge. Things like what we talk of Sher Shah, the movie, right? Vikram Batra. It is not all formal training. It is informal training, the legacy of the regiment, the unit. That's what motivated him to continue to do that.
Yeah. So, coming back to, again, the missions and the emergencies and things like that. So, like you spoke about the planning and organizing, and before the execution of the mission, what are the roles and responsibilities of the airmen in the squadron? How do they assist pilots in planning and organizing of the missions? So, ek to ho gaya, sir, we've been talking about the systems and the aircraft.
Correct.
But there are other things that you are leading men. Ye men, what is this men?
Okay, so there is a difference between the army and the navy on one side, and the air force on the other. The difference is distinct because what happens is, in the army, the entire unit, the company or the platoon or the brigade or battalion, everybody will cross the border. If it's a pujari or also, he will still go. Right? In the navy, when the ship sails, everybody on the ship has to go along.
Yeah.
In the air force, when you launch the aircraft goes. Right? So everything before that is done by everybody to put everything together. Once the aircraft is launched, it is the pilot and the machine who has to complete the mission, and he comes back. So that's a distinct difference. Yes. So how do the airmen help us? They help us in the entire preparatory part, in ensuring that the aircraft leaves the dispersal or the squadron area on time, in the correct configuration for the correct purpose. Once the aircraft taxis out, his job is over till the time the aircraft comes back. That's a distinct difference, right? But for that, it's extremely important, because the previous day that guy has to tell me, I can give you 10 aircraft tomorrow. Because some may be in servicing, some may have a snag. He's to repair them. It could be the smallest snag. Like I told you, in my case, when the throttle was stuck, they found one bolt which was stuck in the throttle quadrant. That one bolt could have resulted in a disaster. I was damn lucky. Right? So they have to check out every aircraft. The ejection seat has to be checked out. The oxygen has to be correct. No leaks. The air has to be filled. The hydraulic fuel has to be filled. The oil has to be checked. So this is all checked by the airman. The weapons have to be checked. The weapon configuration has to be made. Like there are certain weapons where they are prepared in the ammunition depot. The chemical composition has to be checked correctly. The fusing has to be done correctly. So it's a huge amount of effort that takes place. So this is only technical part. There are others who provide all these items. The logistics guys, they'll provide the rations, they'll provide the equipment, they may place orders. Because you will tell the logistics guy, I require this equipment.
Okay. So what is the correct term, G suit or anti-G suit?
It is anti-G suit. Basically, it's an anti-G suit, but colloquially termed G suit.
What's the role of this suit?
Okay, so what happens is, normally a human body can sustain about 3.5, 4 G. And G forces, again, like I said, you use it G, but it's actually anti-G.
Correct. Yeah.
Right? So you use that normally. But when you want to cross those G, you wear a suit to help you. Now what happens? Normally when you're sitting here, we are under the force of 1 time the gravity. Right? You've been in a giant wheel.
Yeah.
When you come down, you feel that sensation in the stomach. And when you go up, you feel certain pressure. Or if you've been in a lift up to 20 floors, when you go up, you feel a pressure on your head. What happens is, when you are against the force of gravity, okay, gravity is pushing your blood vessels down, which is reducing the amount of blood vessels in the brain.
Correct.
Okay. So if you continue, like in the case of an aircraft, if you continue to increase the G force, the blood vessels will continue to be pushed down at a faster rate, reducing the blood supply to the brain. So if I'm, to explain it perfectly, if I'm sitting here in 1G, I can see everything all around me.
Yeah.
As I increase the G, the amount of visual area keeps narrowing. It will, everything else will start becoming black. The frontal will start becoming grey. At a certain stage, where if I continue to exceed G, I will black out. When everything becomes black and I lose consciousness. This can happen at 4.5 G without anti-G maneuvers or equipment. You wear a G suit. Now, what does a G suit do? The G suit is connected to the aircraft. As you generate G, that G suit is inflated with air, hot air. When it inflates with hot air, it compresses your thighs and your waist. When it compresses that, it stops the blood flow from going below into your feet. So it retains a fair amount of blood in the brain. Yes, some will still come down. So as you cross 6, 6.5, 7G, your vision starts narrowing, but it stays here. So up to 9G also you can sustain, right? But there is a limit. You can't sustain 15, 20 seconds, 15 seconds, and then obviously you may black out. So when you do anti-G training, you also do things like, let's say I'm starting to pull G. I start Valsalva. You start swallowing your saliva and you start grunting. Like that. So that the blood flow doesn't go down. Right? And you tighten your stomach muscles. These are maneuvers, anti-G maneuvers that you do. This is how we stay.
Very beautifully explained there.
This is how in fact, I will try and share a video of you during this practice. We practice it at IAM, Institute of Aeromedicine, Bangalore. Right? We practice it in a gondola where there's a target which is stimulated and it rotates and we pull the G and we have to do a test. 4G, 5G for 1 minute, 6G for 30 seconds, 7G for 5G, 6G for 1 minute, 7, 8G for 30 seconds, 9G for 15 seconds. We have to show our fitness. And when I was in Bidar as CGI, and what happened was, when I was there, a couple of cadets failed and youngsters failed and came back. So I said, let me go and do it myself. So I came in and did it, and those guys have done a recording. So I've got a recording of that. If you see when you do that, even 6G, your entire eye comes down, your entire skin comes down, your Adam apple starts bobbling down, and you can see me grunting just to stay conscious.
Okay.
So that's what is done. It's called a high G, it's called OPTRAM, okay, high G training. So that is to be done regularly to check out your physical fitness.
What exactly do you do as a part of the daily physical fitness routine to retain this fitness or to actually come to this fitness?
So basically you need to stay fit, right? Physical fitness, that is a standard 4G thing.
Yeah.
You need to have basic stamina, right? This thing is very difficult to simulate normally. But when you do the OPTRAM, you know what to experience. So you know the anti-G maneuvers and things like that. But basic, your BP, your blood pressure and things like that. Now, how do you maintain your blood pressure, long distance running? So there are basics.
That is where the 4Gs they have a set pattern of training.
Exactly. So you do, and that's why if you see in every Air Force station, there's a lot of emphasis on sports. You will have gyms, encourage you to play squash, which is high speed activities, sudden reactions and things like that. And for me, squash is one of the ideal games for a combat pilot. You know why? Because they put you in an enclosed arena, one versus another. The ball can be hit in any direction. Your aim is to keep the ball in play till the time you win the point. It is exactly if you do a dogfight. You're 1 versus 1 in an arena, you versus me, you fight. Right? You don't have too many resources. You keep engaging him till the time you get his weak point and you shoot him down. That's an exact match up of squash versus dogfight.
Sir, have you ever had a chance of any ejection or something? No.
There have been cases where I may have had to eject, but I've been lucky to come out like this 87% which I said. That was one. Secondly, I remember once ferrying a MiG-21 to Nasik and I had a hydraulic failure and it was a situation where maybe the undercarriage wouldn't come down and then somehow I managed to land. On landing, the aircraft caught fire and it was just my luck that I could clear off and the crash fire tender doused the flames and I came out. So with that kind of system, maybe there was a situation if I could not have been able to lower the undercarriage, I may have had to eject. So there have been instances, but that's what you're trained from. If the situation just so demands, you eject.
So theory plus resourcefulness and purposive risks willingly, and risk. You can...
Exactly, and that's what they say. An acceptable level of risk has to be taken. It has to be taken because if you're going to eject at every small risk, then very soon you may not have any aircraft. Some risk has to be taken.
नहीं तो फिर क्यों बोलोगे even to the peril of my life.
Exactly.
वो तो नहीं बोल सकते ना.
Absolutely.
फिर अशोक स्तंभ लगाना भी तो है, ऐसे थोड़ी लगेगा अशोक स्तंभ. So, sir, now that we've understood G, we've understood maneuvers, we've understood fighter conversions क्या है, independent fighter pilot कैसे बनते हैं, then leading 2 aircraft mission, 4 aircraft mission, things like that, everything we've understood. I'm sure the viewers must be loving this. Like this is going to next level now.
If you get kicks, you can blame me.
No, but I'm sure because I wanted this to come in front, like we rightly mentioned. No, in the beginning we mentioned this that the trend of movies on Air Force.
Yeah. And I hope it continues because there are a huge number of stories of the Air Force which need to be told.
Yeah.
I know people who have done a great, amazing sacrifice. I mean, they've done amazing tasks. One of that comes to my mind is the shooting down of the Pakistani Atlantic, a late Commander Bundela. It was an amazing task, but his story has not been told to the world. I hope someday somebody makes a movie on him because it's an
Can you please tell
inspirational
the story in short, sir, to the viewers?
Yeah, so there was one Commander Bundela, officer in Nalia, and there was a Pakistani Atlantic which was intruding our territory.
Airspace. Yeah.
And he was scrambled, like I said, scrambled. And finally, that aircraft carries weapons, incidentally. And he was scrambled. When that guy didn't do it, he was ordered to shoot him down. He shot him down. And subsequently, he had to eject. About 2 years later. He ejected, and when he landed, he was paralyzed his neck downwards. Young kids, and he survived for a few months and then he died.
The ejection was for what reason, sir?
For a aircraft
failure.
Aircraft snag, yeah.
Failure.
Yeah. So there was a phase where the MiG-29s had a engine failure. There was a particular gearbox issue which had taken place, and then obviously it was modified. And it was one story which I remember very lucidly because he was my senior in NDA and I knew him well. And then subsequently somewhere down I read about him. It was amazing to read his story. I have written an article about him. I hope someday somebody makes a movie, not only on him, I don't mean make a movie on him, but make a movie on such 4 or 5 people who have done such things but have not been recognized because it has not happened during war. Like one of the operations is Maldives, where we went across and saved the country from terrorists. Paratrop aircraft went overnight. When in that case, USA, UK, Canada, Russia, everybody refused, saying we can't do anything, including China. And then he gave a call to India, and overnight India went and rescued.
Okay, sir. So you mentioned that you were lucky enough that ki ejection nahi hua. But have you seen any ejections in any formation?
Yeah. I've seen a lot of ejections. One in my formation, one in my adjacent sector, otherwise ejected crew. See, you have to understand an ejection is not a common thing. Because like I said, those rockets which hit you when you eject, they break your back. So there are people who have ejected only once and have become unfit for ejection seats for the rest of their lives. So it's a pretty serious business. So I remember I was a flying officer in 1994 or 95 in Adapur.
And I was 5 years old.
Yeah, so we're getting airborne for a low-level mission, and I was number 4. So like I said, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1 got airborne, 2 got airborne, number 3, number 4. As I got airborne, I tried to pick up number 3, and then suddenly I hear a call. I have a bird hit, and then I know it is my junior to me on the right-hand side. So I look at him, he says, and so the leader says, check your engine parameters. So I'm not taking names. He says, check engine parameters. So he said, my engine has flamed out. That means engine has failed. It's low level. Next call is attempt a relight. Now when the engine fails, there is no power. So the aircraft starts decelerating rapidly, right? Very rapidly. And he's there and I'm closing in high speed. So I pulled up, went to the left and started looking for him. Right? Continued to pitch up till the speed came to a particular time. Kept writing. And then he gave a call to the leader. Relight not successful. So he gave a call. 1.3 is the height. That's the maximum you can go. Says check max height 1.3. 1.3 says no relight. He says eject.
Eject.
Yeah.
That order is given by the formation commander.
So he's gave that call because they were in communication. Otherwise individually you will take it. So he gave a call eject. Gave that eject. That was the first time I was hearing the call eject on radio. So it was unbelievable. Like I said, I have seen ejections, heard about it. Udhar ho raha hai, idhar eject kiya, mere samne. So here I am. This aircraft is now here behind me. And then I see one flash, the canopy going,
boom,
flash and something up. Now I'm at a large distance, so I can't make out. Just a flash gone up. Now eject, that seat has fired. Doesn't mean the pilot is alive. Below that pressure. ejected, it's gone up. And then I can't see him because I'm at a high speed, I've gone up. And then I've tried to turn around. Now there are other 3 aircraft. We need to stay safe from each other, we'll go into each other. So the leader has given me a height of 3 kilometers, he's at a separate height. The third member is given at a separate height. So we fly at a height so that we don't collide into each other. So we are flying and then this guy is ejected. So the leader has said, ejection successful. Ejection successful means the seat has fired from the aircraft. Doesn't mean he's alive, like I said. After some time, he's given a call, parachute deployed. Parachute has deployed, but we don't know if that guy is alive in that. And then the parachute started descending. By which time, he lost contact of the speed. So I saw the parachute, I turned. And I kept orbiting. And then as the parachute has gone down, he's landed there. And then the leader has gone down. And I am now waiting all one call. And then the leader is given a call, he is moving. That is the safety. That means he's at least alive. And then my fuel was coming, so I came back and landed. Of course, he was evacuated. He was medically unfit. He had compression in the back. And then subsequently he came back.
Yeah, you
to
mentioned that the force that acts on the body is 16G.
Correct. So he came back to flying after a break. The other one occurred was when I was in Bidar. I was an instructor. I was doing a aerobatic check for a trainee. We were doing a complex maneuver, no? All rotating. And now in the back of a loop, when I hear a call of the other 2 pilots had gone for an air test, testing the aircraft after servicing. You have a call of engine failure, attempting relight. From here I come down here, we continue the maneuver. Then he said, no relight, ejecting. The moment he said that, I told the cadet, I have controls. I took over controls, turned around, and I know he's in sector 5, I was in sector 6. So I told the radar, give me pigeons. Pigeons is direction and distance to the point. So the radar, I remember the call sign, scanner was the call sign. Scanner 63 request pigeons. So it says 63 scanner pigeons so and so. So I set course, I have control, I tell the trainee relax, full speed, head towards that. I go there, now I'm trying to locate the parachutes in the middle of nowhere. No? Imagine trying to locate in the sky a single parachute. And now once the aircraft is ejected, there is no blip. Right? So, and I can't descend because I'm worried if I descend, I go into the parachute, I kill whatever chance he has of flight. There are 2 pilots. And then I suddenly spot one parachute. Now I see the parachute, but I can't descend because I can't see the other parachute. So I'm orbiting, this parachute is descending, and then it's descending, and then the parachute has gone down. And then I see the second parachute on the ground. I said, dono niche, then I started descending, came too low. All I wanted to see was that guy moving.
And they were moving.
And then after some time I saw both moving, and I gave the call to radar. Radar, scanner 63, both pilots moving. By that time I was so low on fuel because I didn't bother about myself. I wanted to see they are alive. From there, instead of landing in the correct direction, I had to do a direct approach and landing on the reciprocal runway. So I landed, came back, switched off the aircraft. There's another course mate of mine. We both got into the Gaudi and rushed to the ejection site. Through Kacha, Sacha, Vagara, Vagara. We reached there and we saw him just being put into the search and rescue helicopter and going. Now one of them continued in fighters. He's physically fit. He's flying for HAL now. He's a test pilot. Other guy became permanently unfit for fighters because of the ejection. He's in Air Asia now.
Yeah.
He's flying there.
No, I've come across some fighter pilots, sir, in one of my tri-services course. Somebody who survived an ejection but continued to fly.
Yeah.
Fighters,
So like I said, this guy survived.
So,
But sometimes you just can't fly. I know at least quite a few, 10, 12 pilots who after one ejection only. And there are guys who survived 2 ejections.
Yeah.
And they're fully fit and fine. So it is a lot of luck. It's also a lot of position at the time of ejection, your seat position at the time of ejection, the attitude of the aircraft at the time of ejection. So a lot of things, like I said, in aviation.
Split second decisions.
Yeah, in aviation, everything has to come together to get it right. One thing out and it's not like you drive a bike, even if 10 spokes are out, the wheel will turn. Here, one spoke out and the wheel will fail.
So at the beginning of the podcast, we spoke that you were a consultant to make the movie Tejas. Could you please walk us through the chain of events that happened
Okay.
before you accepted the offer, because that seemed very funny, and I'm sure the audience will find it interesting.
I was a guy completely out of this movie world, had no indication, nothing. I had no inclination at all. Just enjoying my re-attired. I don't call it retired, I call it re-attired. I'm re-attired.
Yeah,
okay.
and so am I.
So I call it the re-attired life, enjoying my re-attired life. Incidentally, my wife was also in the Air Force. She served for 23 years. So we're sitting in the morning during the COVID period, having chai in the balcony when I see a message on my social media handle saying, sir, my name is Mr. Sarvesh Mewara. He's the writer-director of Tejas, and I'm the writer-director of this film called Tejas, and I'm making a film and I want you to help me. So I ignore it. And this carries on for a few days. Then a senior of mine calls up saying, there's a guy who's contacting you, why don't you speak to him? So I told him, I'm not interested in this. I'm completely removed. I have no interest. I had no faith in Bollywood making films, because there were some films, and that episode of Gunjan section had just taken place when the Air Force had taken a front. So I wanted to be farthest out of it. And then when this call, my senior convinced me, he said, speak to him. And that at the same time, my wife told me there is indeed a film called Tejas which is being made. Initially, I thought it was a hoax. She says, there is a film called Tejas. I have seen something on Twitter. So she searched and I found an Tejas aircraft and Kanna Ranauth there. So I said, seems to be information. So I spoke to this person and he said, I want you to help me, etc. We had this discussion. But I was still very, not very sure. So then we had the Zoom calls, and then he said, okay sir, I told him I'm a hardcore Fauji and I'm extremely strict about Fauj customs and all. So I don't think you would like to make a movie with me, because I may object to a lot of things you want to do. To my surprise and to his credit, he said, sir, you tell me what is the problem and we will resolve it. That impressed me initially. And then we had this non-disclosure agreement, and he sent me the script, and then I looked at it. Then I had a lot of observations. Thankfully, COVID was there, so we had these Zoom calls to clear observation, that observation. Finally, we arrived at a decision that we will send the full script to the Air Force, see what they say. So we arrived at an agreement that whatever Air Force objects, he will remove. What they don't object, then I said even I won't object, because finally the NOC will be granted by the Air Force. And then
And this is the SOP to make a movie?
There is a 12-page letter issued by MOD where you need to take clearances. Exactly, you have to submit the screenplay, the script, the shooting frame, if you want any assistance from there. It's a much elaborated thing. So I said we have to follow this. And I was impressed. He wanted to go through everything correctly. And then we asked for permission, and then it took some time to get the permission. And then in the interim, one day he said, let's go to Manali to meet Kanna Ranauth, explain to her. So we went to Manali. And I had my apprehensions about meeting Kanna Ranauth, okay? But in the first meeting itself, she set me so much at rest. It has been a pleasure to know that lady. It's been a pleasure to know Sarvesh Mewara. They're both amazing people. And as a human being, I mean, and even as an actor, as a writer-director, they put their heart and soul in the movie. And then slowly we started working on it, and then the permissions came, and we shot in different locations. And they trained. I mean, if you see some of the photographs of the other actors, Anshul Chauhan or Vishak Nair and Akash Ahuja. In fact, if I show you some of the photographs of the actors, I guarantee you will not be able to differentiate whether it is at Air Force Academy or it's on a set. They took that haircut like that. And because I insisted that before they wear the uniform, they will take the haircut. And so that's how we worked on it. But I would just like to say this, that this individual, Sarvesh Mewara, was an amazing person. He took everybody on board. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't know why the movie was not appreciated. But it has, I mean, if the Air Force were to say it, the Air Force didn't have any objection. We went, showed it to the Air Force, and they gave the NOC within a short while. They didn't ask us to change much. Yes, the clearance took a lot of time. We were in Delhi. They asked us queries, so everything I had to justify and correct and all that. But they gave the clearance. So that was about Tejas.
And now you're consulting for something called as Skyforce.
Yeah, a bit of consultation. It's a movie which is under production. So obviously, like I said, I can't talk much about it. But it's again on the Indian Air Force. But it's an interesting story. Initially, again, I was not too convinced. But when I read the story, it's about a war hero. And that story of the war hero has not been told. In the sense, public don't know. And that is what set me thinking. That this is one guy the country needs to honor. And so I agreed to help out with it. So I'm agreeing to help out in bits and parts and things like that. Like as of now, they are shooting in Hyderabad, but I don't have the time. So I said, I can't come. But again, at least they are following the pattern. Hopefully, they will ask for the permission, get the permission. Because unless they ask for the permission, I don't participate. Because there is a process. I am a person who is a very stickler for rules. If there's a rule laid down, you need to follow the rule. And so let's see. So hopefully that
you
works.
have ensured the growth of your pilots that you have trained to grow in your own individual flavor within the boundaries of rules.
So like I always say, a rule is made, right? Like I say, a rule is meant for an average person with average ability to meet an average end with average effort.
Correct.
Right? I may not agree with the rule. Okay, like there was a station where the speed limit was 30 kilometers per hour, and I found it nonsense. I said, "Who drives at 30 kilometers per hour?" I said, "You'll fall off." But the rule existed. I fought to get it changed. But till the time the rule is changed, you follow it. Because that's when I realized that this is not made for me who drives 2 bikes and who can speed around and all. It's made of a guy who's just learned and who can't handle a 2-wheeler. So that's how every rule is designed. So might as well follow the rule.
So now that we're talking about average, you mentioned the word average, sir. I want to push on something and we get back to the intent of the show, Roger That with NKC, for all my viewers. Average. This is a very important word at SSB. Just imagine, sir, you have something which is called as minimum acceptable level of candidate plus trainability is equal to average potential officer.
Agreed. Absolutely correct.
This is an equation that balances and you get recommended.
Absolutely.
Whether the service is Army, Navy or the Air Force, is it the SSB or the Naval Selection Board or the Air Force Selection Board? Average. Now let me ask you a hypothetical question.
Correct.
23 years of service in the Indian Air Force and then about another 10 years of experience in the civil world, civil flying. 33 years of flying experience.
Correct.
Okay. Now, experience in terms of theory that you've learned and the practical intelligence that has sharpened over a year, over so many years, where the skill set has refined to such an extent. But even though today's takeoff and landing will still be a new takeoff and landing.
Every takeoff and landing is different.
So, if I were to compress this entire knowledge, the basic intelligence in terms of theory and practical intelligence that has sharpened by applying this theory for last 33 years into a 16-year-old Abhijit Gokhale. And when this gentleman goes again to one AFSB Dehradun, what is his advice to today's defense aspirants of the Indian Armed Forces of tomorrow?
Okay, so it's a question I am asked many times, right? And a lot of people tell me your SSB story. I said it was 36 years ago.
But I have changed one element. Now the 16-year Abhijit Gokhale has 33 years ka knowledge.
Exactly. So therefore, I will try and talk of it as I would do it based on what I have done through my experience if I were to go for SSB.
And then the equation is this. This equation has to balance.
Exactly.
Right, sir?
So the first thing I tell everybody is work hard. There is no substitute for success. Second is convince yourself you want to do it. That is something that needs to be unshakable.
Power of subconscious mind.
At any given time, there should be no question of a self-doubt. Can I do it? If you have a doubt of can I do it, just forget it.
Okay, can I to I can.
I have to do it. It is I must do it. You have to convince yourself. Because like I tell them, everybody in the SSB is going to test you as trained psychologists. And the second part is never put on an act. Be your original self. More because, yes, your first aim is to get selected, right? Two things, those guys are trained. So they can make out when you put on an act. Secondly, even if you succeed in fooling them and you do get selected by any chance, you're trying to play a role you are not designed for. Very soon in service, you will get caught out. You will be frustrated. The service will be frustrated. Either you will have to be kicked out or you will want out. And it will become an issue with you and the service for the rest of your lives. So be your original self. Do what you normally do. Don't go out of the way to try and get selected. Right? If you can get selected being yourself, that is the best way to do it.
Actually, that's the thing. If you are yourself, then you get selected.
You will. That's exactly what I'm saying. And I've said this all the time. If you have it in you and if you're original self, you will clear it. Because they don't require supernaturals. They don't require superior people.
Can I tell you?
Average people.
Can I tell you something which you'll find very interesting? You gave SSB in 1988. You were exposed to some group tasks.
Correct.
Group situational tasks. There is a certain set of briefing that would have been given to you before attempting the task. Sir, those briefings still remain the same. 2024 1988. But
That's
I would say,
amazing. That's really
still
amazing.
the same. People have thought through. ये ऐसे ही होगा.
Yeah, that means it is the correct way of doing it.
Correct. Yeah.
The fact that you're getting people of that caliber,
Yeah.
it means that's the correct way of doing it.
Yeah.
And that is extremely important because that is the only way you can find out, or if I am sitting in SSB, I can find out that can I get that individual of the standard that I need. It does not mean if somebody, and I keep telling this to a lot of people who have rejected and been disappointed, it does not mean you cannot become a soldier. No. Unfortunately, what must have happened is you are in that batch where there are people who are better than you at that time. Maybe if you go next time, you may be better than that. You may be just average. You may be better. You may meet the minimum standard. But I can't take everybody. Right? So,
you're talking about the SSB?
yes.
To be very honest, sir, because I've been a part.
Correct.
Let's just say, yeah, that's SSB Calcutta. I was a commissioning crew of that place.
Correct.
The competition is not you against somebody. The competition is against you
Absolutely.
against you.
Yes.
You against you. So there is nothing like a fixed set of number that we are supposed to select.
No, I'm saying you have to meet that standard.
Correct,
At that time, you may not meet that standard. If you don't meet, doesn't mean you cannot do it. Next time you do, maybe you will be able to meet that
Yeah,
standard.
maybe you have improved. Yeah,
And
that's
secondly,
correct.
every time you have experience, you'll realize where you have failed. It's like any exam. You give an exam, you give a maths exam, you get 75%, you know where you've gone wrong. Now you'll concentrate on where you've gone wrong and improve next time 80. Maybe for some person, to go from 75 to 100 takes only one test.
Correct.
Somebody may take 5 tests.
Correct.
It does not mean he doesn't have the capability.
The improvement, the rate
It
at
is
which
the
you
rate at
improve.
which you want change, and secondly, sometimes the exact guidance may not be in the rate at which you need it.
Yeah.
That mismatch. So it is not a reflection on the individual. It's just a reflection on some external factors which will not have worked at you at that time.
Yeah.
That is very important for a guy to understand, because I tell them, you don't get rejected, don't get disappointed, don't get despondent. Because if you get disappointed, next time you will go with the fear of failure.
Yeah.
Let that not. The moment you have fear of failure, if I'm selecting, I'll say, this guy has got a fear of failure. Should I take him or no?
Yeah.
Because when the push comes to shove,
Because that's negative anxiety and
Yes.
that we don't want.
when the push comes to shove, am I sure that this guy is not going to have that fear and step back?
You have had the chance of rescuing somebody from negative anxiety in the cockpit when you had to help him land on radio telephony.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
And that's bad.
That's
Yeah, that's bad.
So you need to understand that. So for a 16-year-old, all I tell him is, first is commitment, and this commitment is for life.
Yeah.
It doesn't stop even after you leave the service. You live like a soldier till you die.
Yeah. So, in a nutshell, if I were to summarize today's podcast, my talk with you, sir, you have actually explained it in a very, very simple method, that how a man with reasonable common sense and decency, rules and regulations के दायरे में रह के, that is a decency and reasonable common sense. Theory को practice में apply करना, rule नहीं तोड़ना, and you will become an officer. You not only become not just the officer. I'm talking about QFI. So many achievements at
specialized roles,
so specializations at such young, at young age, and so fast that you've been able to achieve these milestones. So yeah, in a nutshell, this still holds true what Sam said. Give me a man with reasonable common sense and decency, and I will turn you into an officer, a military leader.
Absolutely. And for pilots, there's a lovely quote which I want everybody to understand.
Yeah.
It's very important to understand. It says, a superior pilot is one who does not need the use of his superior skills to get out of a situation which needs his superior skills.
Yeah,
It's
very well.
very important to
very,
understand
very
that.
well said. Yeah. Sir, what is one truth that you believe in which most people would not like to agree upon?
Okay, one thing is never give up. Okay, a lot of people give up very easily. There should be no fear of failure.
Okay, let me repeat the question again, sir. This is a thoda sa tongue twister. One truth that you believe in, but which most people would not agree with you.
Yeah, the common thing which I even encountered today is there is no other way to live except to follow the law. A lot of people don't agree with it because they believe that a lot of rules and laws are not meant for them. It is as simple as standing at a signal. Even today I stand at a signal. I will wait even if the guy behind is blaring till it becomes green. This is an attitude. This is not that rule. There's an attitude of life.
So-
a lot of people want to take shortcuts.
Yeah.
They think it is easy. A simple thing like, trying in India, one of the biggest crimes was taking a shortcut.
Yeah.
Why is it?
Yeah.
Because it simply means if you develop that attitude of taking a shortcut, somewhere down you will slouch. Somewhere down you'll take the easier way out.
Yeah.
This is something that is
Also, it might cost lives.
Yeah, and it will lead to it.
Yeah.
This is anathema to me.
Yeah.
Even today, I do various roles. Like I am the member of the managing committee. I take the hard path. Okay. Even today, every day, once a day, when I pray. Give me the strength to do what is right against what is wrong, irrespective of the outcomes that I may face.
Yeah.
That is something which doesn't come to so many people. And they say, "Why are you taking the tough path?" I said, "Somebody has to do it. Because if you don't do it, who's going to do it?"
Yeah.
It's finally that game of you, me, I, someone, somebody. Somebody has to take that call. That is something I find today, that a lot of people are not willing to take the tough path.
So, in a nutshell, you're also trying to tell the world that be an Indian or be a citizen worth fighting for?
Yeah, so there are 2-3. I recently wrote an article while working on this second movie. I came across a lady called Miss Nimrit Kaur. And I had seen her movie Lunchbox, and I had known that she's a daughter of a veteran. So when I met her, I introduced her. I said, "Ma'am, I know you are the veteran's daughter, and your father won a Shaurya Chakra." It was a shock to her. She got up and says, "You know?" I said, "Ma'am, I know." She said, "How?" I said, "Because after the first movie, I read about it." She said, I'm surprised you know. And I looked around, there were 300 people, nobody knew. Right? And it did strike me. So anyway, we met, and then she went home. Next day she came and she sought me out, and the first thing she said, "Sir, I was so thrilled. I went and spoke to my mother. I spoke to my sister and told them there's somebody on the set who knows my father because of me." It's a surprise to them also. And those words went through my heart like a knife goes through a block of butter. Because we were on set. The scene was about a lady getting an award posthumously, a gallantry award, which Nimrit Kaur's mother would have received in 1994 after her husband was killed by terrorists.
Oh my God.
It was a shock to me. And then I wrote an article about it. And that's where I wrote, freedom isn't free, it costs soldiers.
Yeah.
There is a reason why people today don't pay for freedom.
Yeah.
Someone has paid for it with its life.
Yeah.
And therefore I said, be a citizen that a soldier can be proud of.
Yeah.
This is
Absolutely.
something which I want a citizen to understand.
Yeah. Thank you so much for this valuable insight, sir. First things first, sir, you agreed to come on this show at
No,
such
it's
a
a
short
pleasure.
notice. I'm trying to do something using this show. Like I keep telling, officer-like qualities, 8.3 billion people on earth. Everybody has got officer-like qualities. It's just a method of interpreting your personality. And like sir has walked us through the entire journey, where he speaks about ये पर्टिकुलर चीज़ देखना है, वो पर्टिकुलर चीज़ देखना है, तब इसको मैं टिकट दूंगा, अच्छा इंडिपेंडेंट फ्लाई करेगा, फिर किसी को QFI बनाया होगा, फिर किसी को फॉर्मेशन फ्लाइंग में लेकर के गए. तो हर जजमेंट वो स्किल सेट पे हुआ है. स्किल सेट का इंटरप्रिटेशन इफ यू आर डूइंग कि एक सिविलियन को ऑफिसर कैसे बनाना है, एवरेज पोटेंशियल ऑफिसर बनाना है. So it was not just about writing stories or writing sentences या फिर रस्सी फट्टा बल्ली. It is your attitude, and like he really mentioned the same thing, that originality is something that you need to bring to the table. Otherwise, it's going to cost lives. I have to, in a nutshell, if I were to say this, I have to give you a ticket to kill. Why will I give you this ticket? I need to be very clear about this.
Absolutely.
Right, so this was Roger That with NKC. Officer-like qualities की कहानी, ex-GTO की जुबानी, powered by Olive Planet. Manufacturers of premium military gear, of which not only even I am the customer, but even sir is
even
the
I
customer.
am wearing this.
Yeah.
Olive
So,
Planet.
These guys really make wonderful stuff.
Yeah, I've got a lot of stuff from them. I have ordered a lot of stuff from them.
These guys, and to be very honest, before the show got sponsored by them, I've been a customer since I think almost now 11 years. I've been picking up stuff from them.
Yeah, I picked up a lot of stuff for my hikes and my camps, and so much of it. In fact, I saw a lot of stuff which I wanted to buy, but unfortunately the flight security will ask me to remove it. So hopefully I'll come back next time with a check-in bag and take stuff.
Yeah. So guys, thank you so much for watching this show, and I am
and I'm sure कि real और real में फ़र्क आपको पता चल गया होगा after watching this podcast. Thank you so much. For more such interesting content, subscribe to my channel, Roger That with NKC. This is Lieutenant Commander Nikhil Kumar Chandrakala, ex-GTO. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching my show. This was Roger That with NKC, powered by Olive Planet, manufacturers of premium military gear. Check out their stuff on the website oliveplanet.in. This gear is used by Indian military, including the special forces. Subscribe to my YouTube channel for more such interesting content. For SSB related content, you can check my YouTube channel, which is called SSB with ISB. There's an Instagram handle and also the LinkedIn page by the same name, SSB with ISB. Follow me on Instagram, Lieutenant Commander Nikhil, the GTO, or just search for me as Nikhil Kumar Chandrakala. Thank you so much.